Hello, everybody. Waiting for this thing to synchronize, so. Oh, there's one. All right, that's one working. Looks like the other one's working. All right. Oops, mute that. All right, this is being simulcast across both of my channels right now. And stop that. All right, cool. And then I wanted you to know that it's probably better if you're on the main channel now. The way you can tell the difference is one is named Gabriel Cruz, and then the other one is named Gabriel Cruz Research like Mirror Channel. It's like has a longer title to it. So what's going to be happening is that I'll be taking one stream down permanently and then leaving the other one on the other channel. And then I'll do that for a while. It's not going to stay on both channels, and it's going to happen. I started that process last night, and so that's the way I'm going to be doing this channel. Basically, for the most part, is just to like. I don't want to get into too many detail because I've already talked about it too much, but the main channel has some issues as far as why the suspensions have been occurring. And so these live streams seem to be a big source of the problems. And so I want this audience to start to merge over to the other channel as much as possible. And I can give you a link to that if you don't already have it. And then that way you're subscribed to that one in the, unfortunate event that something should ever happen to the main channel. And I really am trying to make sure nothing does happen to it by keeping it as kind of sanitized. As much as I hate to acquiesce to the powers that be, it's not really something that's in my DNA to do. However, I also have to be smart. I'm not going to change my content to kowtow to any interests or anything like that, but I need to preserve this content only because I am so at financial risk at the moment, let alone just having a place to live, a car, etc. Relative to the recent events that have gone on, that I can't afford to lose the channel. It would take me way too much effort to get it going again. What I did in my suspension time was rather than do any field reporting on the new channel, because I just can't afford it right now. I started to do the aggressive archiving of this channel, the main channel. And that included downloading somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 plus clips that I've done. These include extensive reports that exceed like a half hour in length, where it's edited and, I put all the slides together. I gathered up all the materials. I do some type of, seminar or essay or whatever you want to call what I do, lecture with the slides. And that's a lot of the material that's on the main channel that I don't want to see just immediately get deleted one day simply because, oh, you used a song you weren't supposed to, or, crap like that. That's what's been going on. There's one studio in particular that just seems to have a really aggressive policy towards me and practically nobody else. Really? I've seen your clips used in nearly everything I've seen on YouTube. And only when I use it does it seem to piss you off and you start calling copyright strikes. All right, I don't. So that's what it is. And anyways, I figure what I'll do is eventually, folks, all of us are going to have to figure out new platforms if YouTube doesn't start to just become a little bit friendlier to free expression. I mean, I don't want to get into detail, guys, but they do things involving, you can just tell what's on its way. All right. Speaking of which, maybe it's time we have a bigger conversation about InfraGard. I was really trying to be nice to the FBI for a very long time when it came to things involving InfraGard. I even at some point was, because I was trying to establish bridges over to their understanding. Not really, guys, keep in mind that I came from, you know, the transitions you've seen in my ways of looking into governance. You're never going to find that I'm a person that's anti-government, okay? What I am, though, is definitely limited. I want there to be limited government. I don't want there to be something as bloated as we have today. And I think it needs to change its mission relative to what's going on currently. And I see that we are changing the mission in America. It's just happening mostly behind the scenes without people understanding fully what it involves. So let me help you guys understand it, because I'm getting a lot of flow of intuitive communication tonight to say that we're really at the cusp of a lot of America understanding this problem greater. And that some of the information that I've been trying to get to you guys the last 4 years while everybody's been distracted with different characters connected to Q and various other crap like that, I've had it all there. I'm not trying to be like I told you so. I'm just letting folks know that I've been dishing it out pretty aggressively, putting it all out there for a long time. And I was doing field reports while I was trying to earn a living, basically. What you saw, like, while I was doing those field reports in Las Vegas was, like, they would do things to hack me, and it would make it very challenging for me to get my job done. So I was kind of like, I started noticing something. The more I reported on what they were doing, the more they would suddenly have jobs available for me, where they would stall me for like an hour or two if I just waited there. And so I started to use it to my advantage and mess with their algorithms. I'm like, oh, I see. If I'm waiting for it and they know I need money, they're just going to do everything they can to F with that, or send me to bogus jobs, and they did this a lot, guys, just did really aggressive things to make it to where I couldn't earn a living in any meaningful way. Like, I could barely break even to pay for the crappiest budget stay in pretty much Las Vegas. That was owned by, I learned, after I moved in, I learned it was owned by Robert Bigelow, who I had done a report on years ago, but did not know that it pissed him off potentially. I still don't know, guys. I just think it's a very interesting coincidence that I happened to wind up in a budget hotel owned by a person that owns Bigelow Aerospace, connected to the International Space Station aerospace, yes, a very major, I guess you could say, you know, bringer of funding and things like that to Nevada's skunk works and aerospace type projects. He's also kind of known in psychic circles and paranormal research circles, because I guess he owned something called Skinwalker Ranch, or it's not Skywalker because that's George Lucas's. I think it's called Skinwalker Ranch. Others mention that to me. I never even pay attention to that. I guess he had a TV series or something. Again, guys, I was never an expert in Bob Bigelow. All right. I just observed one time on some documents that were declassified by Science Applications International corporations. Well, they didn't declassify them. They were probably begrudgingly declassified, with SAIC going, no. But the reports have handwritten notes on them. Like, shit, why am I even saying this? I'm just going to show it to you. Why? Why talk about it when I can show it to you? Yeah. So I was reading through this documentation relative to it was about, and in fact, it's based in Las Vegas, as a matter of fact. The consciousness, hang on, I'll show you the document so I'm not just babbling here. So that's it, guys. This is it. This is a declassified doc. If you don't believe me, just look right up there. CIA RDP 9600791 R0002001900683. Say that fast 10 times, let alone once. All right. So there's this email that I guess went from this guy named Dean Radin, who I've seen him. I've done searches on him. He does get involved with quite a bit of psychic research even to this day. He's connected to a lot of that. I don't know what his deal is, guys. I'm not saying one thing or another about Dean Radin. Couldn't tell you. But I do think that Edwin C. May is kind of a buffer character for psychic research programs at SAIC. So they'll just have him always answer the emails. It's always that guy because he's the character, I think, you know. But anyways, they were all pissed off because there's this guy that did this remote viewing documentary named Julian Schnabel. They even gave out his address, which, guys, this is what's bizarre about this. He lived in Chevy Chase, Maryland, which I thought was really a strange coincidence because I have all my weird Chevy Chase things going on connected to all this. But it says this may be the source of your information on an RV conference. I don't know if you can see how that handwritten note says this. Clearance issue. And so they were pissed off because there is this woman named Angela Thompson in Vegas that was doing a remote viewing workshop, not a conference, which means to say that he was angry, I guess, or that they were fishing around trying to learn who was doing what, because they were taking their knowledge about how to remote view out into the field and teaching people how to do it, like in workshops. Not a conference that it exists, you know. I mean, they said like it's a workshop. Like, So I suspect that this is the source of your rumor mill. She's done this before to make a little extra money. And then if you scroll over to the right of this is on the original document. Actually, you can say effect size without something to do will at Las Vegas, 97%. But then above here in this red square, if you read closely, it says Bob Bigelow is sugar daddy for Dean Radin's. That's what it translates to. And I thought, well, that's really interesting. Like, you know, for a CIA declassified document passing around among circles where they must be aware later on that this is going to be publicly released. That's some strange verbiage to call Bob Bigelow a sugar daddy to Dean Radin's, because that kind of implies that the person, you know, takes money for favors. It's not like it's not usually a good thing. Yeah, people can use it. Look, guys, I mean, sometimes people use it in a joking sense, but that really looks to me, I don't know. It was a weird thing, right? And so there's that. And then right as I discover, you know, I was trying to I don't know why I got back into researching those documents, you know, relative to SAIC psychic research. Then I discovered that the whole reason why I was probably at that hotel without having any control over what was going on. Like, you guys have to understand, like, I will look for places to stay and I'll always be narrowed down to a very select few places because there's only so much I can afford. And it's like they know exactly how much I have and they can just push me right to the exact place where that'll exactly buy. And that's what happened. I wound up over and over again in these Bigelow-owned properties. And it says Bigelow Aerospace was an American space technology startup company based in North Las Vegas, Nevada. And just so you guys know, I mean, I actually lived when I was younger, I graduated from high school in North Las Vegas. I did an article in front of Western High School. That's where I attended most of my courses. But then I graduated from the Clark County program because I just needed to get the hell out of there. But I took all my classes at Western, and that's where I was, at the Western Warriors there, and kind of on the northern part of Las Vegas near Decatur. But it was manufactured and developed expandable space station modules. So, okay, Bigelow Aerospace manufactured and developed expandable space station modules. The ISS, guys, the International Space Station, things to do with space travel and staying in space. It was founded by Robert Bigelow in 1998 and is funded in large part by the profit Bigelow gained through his ownership of the hotel chain Budget Suites of America. Now, guys, I got to be straight up with you. My personal feeling is that a lot of things that they allege that they're spending on space are actually being spent underground. That they'll say that they need like $1 billion to launch a satellite and do a rocket program and build a module, whatever. And then maybe some of that's done for the exploration, and you know, they probably use a good portion of it for the research or whatever. But the vast majority, I think they've been just using to make underground of America and other places Swiss cheese. And when they talk about a, quote, secret space program, it's not up there, it's down there. As above, so below. And, you know, guys, you can believe what you want to. I'm not suggesting that we can't go or that we haven't. I'm telling you that if you understand the origins of how our space program came into fruition, who it leads back to, you must be seriously suspect of what's gone on with it historically, and you would know that we would need to do some serious reforms. All right. Now, I can show you the entire trail of why that is, how that is, everything. Okay. It's an interesting thing. This is really bizarre that this is taking so long. Something going on with my phone. Yeah, exactly. Now I want you to think about this, Lisa. You said that they turn everything upside down. So now look at this. Think about how many satellites they allege to be up there in the sky currently. And then I'm thinking to myself, every time I see somebody claim that a photo was taken from space, from a satellite, I never see other satellites in the perspective shot of the satellite. I just see this incredibly great shot of Earth looking all so spectacular from way up in the sky without any space junk flying around, without any other satellites obscuring the path of that satellite, or maybe just somewhere down there. I mean, there's supposed to be like hundreds of these things up there, and I don't know exactly how many. I would have to look that up. I really should have gotten a little bit better informed if I was even going to question things involving satellites tonight. I'll just put it this way, folks. I've just been doing telecommunications for many years, which means to say that I understand signal strength. There's a measurement that I call receive signal strength indicator, RSSI. It's just your receive power, basically. You can get a spectrum analyzer out, and you know you're getting X number of dBm, negative whatever dBm on your meter, and you'll go, okay. Like for a cell tower, for example, when I was really close to a cell phone tower, like maybe in the actual building connected to it, I might get like a negative 40 dB M signal, okay, on a signal indicator. I could just sit there with a spectrum analyzer and see the bars of signal on it and go, yeah, I'm getting probably about neg 40 dBm here right inside the tower. And then if I just get, about a block or two away, and maybe I'm behind a few trees or something like that, the number starts to get further away from 40. It starts to get, maybe there's like a tree in the way, a building in the way. Now my signal drops down to about 50 dBm, okay? And then I start to get in my car, and then I drive around the corner from where I was, but I'm still on the same tower. Well, now my signal drops because I got inside the car. That right there will probably drop at about 3 to 6 dBm. And then going around the corner, now I'm behind a building inside the same car. Now I've dropped another few dBm. Pretty soon the signal's closer to like 80 dBm, neg 80, minus 80 dBm, where when I was at the tower it was neg 40 dBm. Sounds like it's way far apart, but as far as making a functional phone call, just to give you guys some, from my experience as a wireless engineer, the difference between in the type of networks that I worked on, your quality from a negative 40 dBm compared to a negative 80 dBm would not even be something you would notice on a voice call. Now, on a data session, yeah, you'd probably notice the difference because you'd have something that you're dealing with called signal to noise ratio. And the more noise you have relative to the strength of the signal coming to and from the cell tower, that link needs to be as clean as possible. The more things that you introduce between you and the cell tower, the more you add to that dynamic. And it makes it's not the only thing that affects that, but it causes more noise in your signal and it makes your data rates, your speeds go down. This is relevant for some strange reason. I can't remember why I'm talking about this exactly, but okay. Yeah, that's right. Because of the reason why satellites, I've been suspect, okay? I started noticing that when I was doing research connected to the Phoenix project and Philadelphia experiment, things involving the USS Eldridge and the Manhattan Project type element things. I mean, yes, guys, I understand there's things in nuclear processes, but there's also things that were involving, if you're not familiar with the Philadelphia experiment, there's actually a very good, low budget, but still good quality film. You'll want to watch the one from the 80s. None of these recent sequels, as far as I can tell, are worth watching, but I don't want to, talk trash about them. I've just noticed that anytime they go aggressively on making a reboot of a movie they already did in the 80s, the new one will suck. It'll have missing details that the 80s movie have that you need for clues. So I always say watch the original, and then if you feel like it, watch the newer one later, or watch both, but don't ever watch only the new one if you're trying to get the information from it. It's like you're reading Cliff Notes and the real clues are in the original, especially when they do 80s reboots from any movie between 1985 to 1989. It is the strangest thing that they do with those movies in particular. I'm telling you this, guys, because I've become increasingly aware that what's going on right now really is about timelines. The weapon that we're dealing with globally, the thing that's making everything bizarre right now, and that we've been getting warnings about, the thing that everybody's created all the lore. I'm just, this is, again, it's going to be more disclosure that I don't know if people are really going to believe it, but I'm going to do my best to give it to you as straightforward and scientific as I can, to say that that there are, in fact, multiple studios within the studio and television and media and even music system that have been involved with projects that cross into defense, that cross into intelligence. And these are to do with timeline. And there are quite a few creative projects that existed both as entertainment and as information relative to timelines, simply to prove that manipulation of timelines does in fact exist, that you can accomplish it, and the people that were involved with these types of works will not surprise you. That's the funny thing about it. I've been this Chevy Chase thing is deeper than I thought. And the one movie that I don't know why I didn't return to it enough, it's called Nothing But Trouble. And it stars, and I talked about this a little last night, but it stars Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd, John Candy, and Demi Moore. Filled with information. Filled. I mean, it makes nearly no linear sense. There's all kinds of sideline dialogue that it like while I was watching it, it was synchronizing with everything that I was doing around me. It was literally like you go to eat something and then the person's eating that in the movie, or I haven't ate popcorn in the longest time, guys, but I'm on a budget. So I thought that's a good way to fill my stomach. I'll buy some microwave popcorn, and it's cheap. And that's almost like a meal in itself. And it's only like $1, right? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, cool. This is what I'm going to have. And the song, and in the line, Shock G, the rapper who just died in the movie, here I am, I'm sitting there, but I'm like watching it, looking for the clues, paying attention. I just finished popping this bag of popcorn. The scene comes on where Shock G and Humpty Hump go into the courtroom in the movie. They make an appearance, the guy that just died, okay? And the song that they play is called, it goes like, all around the world's the same song, which is the same old song. All around the world's the same song. All right. The opening line is Shock G going, get yourself some popcorn. And I'm sitting there with a bag of popcorn, and I haven't ate popcorn in quite a long time. I haven't even thought to. I know, that's not that weird. I get it. Everything was synchronizing like that. It's almost like you do like this, like you're reaching for your cup of coffee and you go, and the character goes like, boy, I sure could use like a sip of coffee right now. It's that kind of thing that just kept on happening over and over again. I'm like going, and then without getting into too much detail, yeah, guys, there's this whole forward and back thing with Looking Glass. It is a thing. There are these things in Hollywood, and the FBI is a part of it. The FBI was always partnered with Disney, and now Disney's part of ABC. Okay. Now, now you're starting to understand things a little bit better, hopefully, right? Yeah. It doesn't it make a little bit more sense now, guys? It wasn't predictive programming like they told you as much as it was simply that there were people that were kind of going like, all right, look, here we are, we're at the Department of Defense, or they're at the FBI, or wherever they're getting this. It's different agencies, guys, is my understanding. That's why it's such a cluster. We have the problem both in the United States and globally, where everybody's doing this. They all have some degree of CERN-based technology that integrates human bioplasma with a computer that is of the nature of like a supercomputer, or what you might call a quantum computer. The point would be that whatever kind of computer it is, it's 10 times smarter than you and I combined, and it can do all that computing to crack code and learn things about the human brain. Then it's fueled with bioplasma, which interacts with crystal structures, because human brains have crystal structures and computers have crystal structures. And so we are, in essence, computers amongst each other. If you think about it, we all have a pineal gland that's surrounded with crystal. And it's piezo responsive. And, you know, if you didn't know this about your pineal gland, please look it up. Your pineal gland is surrounded by piezoluminescent crystals that literally create splashes of color, that create the color spectrum that you actually perceive as everything that you exist in. We're just sharing signals back and forth. This thing goes in the back of our brain, and then it goes like this, back and forth, and we're just sharing this experience, pinging back and forth, creating the spectrum of color back and forth that we think is coming in from the outside, but it's not. We're creating it inside and projecting it out, and we're just seeing it together as a shared projection. And we're all just energy mixed in with a universal plasma field. They know this in the Defense Department because I've read all the documentation. They know it at the CIA because I've read their documentation. And this is why they've been trying to like hide this for like the last 5 or 6 years, guys. I was doing articles about both psychic research and the FBI's InfraGard program. And I just started to realize that there's just some really, how do I say, guys, that InfraGard is shady as hell. I don't know how else to put it. I've never run across well, I'm not going to say never, but I've almost never run across information relative to InfraGard that made me feel like they were doing the right thing for the right reasons. And I'll put a slide up on the screen to kind of give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about, so I'm not just going blah, 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 InfraGard. Guys, like that movie, Nothing But Trouble. So there's multiple scenes, okay, where Chevy Chase, number one, I'm born on 7/9, okay, I was born July 9th. He gets a speeding ticket doing 79 miles per hour. While the camera zooms in on his odometer, it says 179. On the number of miles that he has, and then on his trip computer it says 72 and then 9. Well, 72 is my name, GB. 7 equals G, 2 equals B. Above it is 79. That's my birthday. All right, I know what you're gonna say. Okay, whatever, Gabe. I'm not making this up, guys. I can show you a slide. Look, I'm just going to show it to you. You guys need to see this. I'm going to talk about the core topics, guys, but I am still freaking out from this a little bit, so you'll forgive me here for talking about it. I'm going to show you this from Nothing But Trouble. Okay, again, there it is. So he gets clocked doing 79 miles per hour. Okay, you guys notice, you know how I always do the 33s, right? So he drives a 3.3 liter 733i BMW. All right, now hang on. The movie in its credits had Shock G, Tupac Shakur. And look at one of the guys in Digital Underground's named Nazazi Muhammad. I thought that was interesting. I didn't know who he was in the band, to be honest with you. Hang on though. That's Chevy Chase. Hang on. Saying blah, blah. Gabby, Gabby, Gab, Gab. I'm like, so my name is in it multiple times. Gabby, Gab, Gab, Gaby, Gabe, Gabe. I was just like, man, this is some weirdness, man. I'm telling you. And then, then I was watching the Beatles Help today, and I was told that this also has some clues in it. Who's running your radio access network? I'll let you figure that one out. Because in the movie Help, it's all about sacrifice, and you've got to paint the victim red before you kill them. The movie Help by the Beatles, guys, is another one that has tons and tons of timeline information. So both Help, I'm going to tell you straight up, has timeline information by the Beatles, and it's freaking hilarious, by the way. It's a great movie. And that makes sense to me, guys, because think about it. John Lennon, he kind of woke up towards the end. He got shot. What makes this even weirder is that I visited, I've told you guys this before, but some of you may not have heard this from me. I visited the Dakota building when I was in New York City more than once. I've been there more than once, and I went both times. I didn't go in, obviously, because you can't, but there's a memorial for John Lennon in Central Park called Strawberry Fields. And so I walked over there. I took some pictures of that. And the Dakota building, I didn't have any fascination with it because of his death. Quite the opposite. I'm not a person that would go because of that. In fact, I'd probably avoid it because of that, if anything. But I did know that the Dakota building had very interesting architecture. It had been used in quite a number of movies. And so I walk over to the Dakota building to take pictures of some of the gargoyles. And that's all I'm doing. That's the only reason why I was even interested in it after I saw John Lennon's Strawberry Fields Memorial. And when I walked over there, I look over and a black limousine, not a limousine, but a black Mercedes Benz pulls up, full size though, a large one. And two people get out, and it's Yoko Ono, and she's dressed head to toe, black shirt, black sunglasses, black pants, black shoes. The guy with her is a lot taller. He's wearing also black shirt, black pants, black shoes, black sunglasses, top down. And they walk exactly like the Beatles did on the Abbey Road album cover, straight into the Dakota building without looking left or right. They just go like a beeline and they move symmetric that way too. It was very, very weird. I think maybe just because they're so used to just getting out of a car and like trying to get inside as quickly as possible without being bothered. And I wouldn't have tried to bother, Yoko Ono or anything like that. I'm not the kind of person that would hound her for an autograph or something, quite the contrary. But yeah, seeing that, of course, I took a picture because I'm sorry, man. I mean, if something like that happens to you, then you can't help but like go, that's too synchronistic. I can't help but take a picture of that. Which made me think lately that there is something going on that I thought before that, maybe I was experiencing something. I knew, guys, I had something going on with me dealing with psychic research, but now I'm completely 100%, about 99.9, let me put it that way, because I never get 100% on anything. But now I'm certain that there's something involving me relative to a larger psychic research program that dealt with timelines, that dealt with looking glass technology. And then with these people that have been saying things to me on the sidelines going, dude, you're selected. You're a person that's supposed to tell people about this. I have to believe it's true. Yet at the same time, I guess the problem I have, guys, is that they under-resource me too frequently. And it makes me question everything. That's all. Because I kind of go like, what are you doing right now, guys? You're making me stress too much. If I'm this much of a benefit to you, why are you messing with me like this? It feels a little bit like a, whatever. And it's like, you got to understand, dude, there's a way we got to do things and you must know. Okay. So what I'm going to do is show you more about how this all kind of ties together, what I've just told you. All right. I know this all sounds weird. I'm talking about movies and things like that, but it's relevant because it's about media. It's about delivery of your information from studios and from television stations and from newspapers. And what is involved with that? Who owns those organizations? Why do they exist? How did they come into fruition? And what is their other reason for existing? It's not just to deliver the news in every case. There are some that have historically had intelligence ownership or military or defense ownership or interests. For example, people knew this going way back, that there were satellites used for communication that in early television satellite communications, at least, they were shared. They were shared military and media functions. And so you can't separate them. You know what I'm saying? You rely upon the services of the military in order to be the media and perform satellite communications. It's not something they can just run around doing independently. Somebody has to manage all those objects that are up in the sky. Otherwise, we'd be raining in space junk. Another reason why I'm very suspect of the whole system, to be honest with you. We should be raining space junk. It should be happening all over the place, and it's not. So I question it. That's all. To me, if we had as many as that are up there, there's bound to be a few F-ups that would have been catastrophic disasters by now. And they've all basically been these like, yep, they're up there. And it's just, man, that you hear about one or two having an issue. But by and large, it's all just like, it's smooth sailing. Can't be anything better. I'm sure glad we spent $50 billion to launch that thing up there. Or did they just give you a light show and build a tunnel? I think they're building tunnels and giving you mostly light shows. And then time to time, especially when we're partnering with the rest of the world, they actually do something that puts something in the sky. I think Russia figured that out, which is why they're exiting, and different groups are exiting certain programs and things like that, because guess who's doing all the innovating? Guess who's doing all the real heavy lifting and the smarts and everything like that, but not getting the credit for it. While over here, we're trusting who? All right. If you guys didn't read my description, maybe that's a good thing to do. It's almost like an article or an essay in itself. What I'm trying to basically show everybody is that if you don't study Operation Paperclip, if you don't understand that we brought in actual known Nazis that were high-ranking SS officers, and that those are the families, bloodlines, and brain trusts that we have been trusting with America's national security relative to the missile program, missile defense, things to do with satellite communication and media communications with satellites, anything in doing a rocket launch, all involves Nazis. Always, top down. There's no getting away from it. Don't tell me that today they're all gone and have gone pro-America. It's simply bullshit. If you try to sell me on that. They're not loyal to America. They're not really loyal to anyone but other Nazis. Once you get that and you know how much control they have over our perceptions, it won't be very difficult for you guys to believe that much of what they do there at NASA headquarters is a great big special effects show. There's even evidence of it. George Bush went down there. They've got him carted around in a wheelchair. Forgive me if this got disproven someplace, but I don't think it did. They actually show you. There's a few people that caught this. They were giving George Bush a tour. And if you look off yonder in the background, you can see a person actually suspended from like what they are using green screen technology to look like they're in the International Space Station. They were filming it there in Houston. They weren't in space. They were acting like they were in, free space and spinning around and everything like that. and they were actually doing it. The guy was attached to the strings, and you see the little balls on the white wall and the green screen type crap behind it. They were doing all that. So it was a big ruse. It was a light show, at least in that one case. And then they were able to correlate the photo of George Bush taking that tour to the footage that aired on television that represented that footage as being at the International Space Station. Now, if I'm misrepresenting that, I apologize, guys, because I haven't seen that in a long time, and I can't tell you where it is right now. I don't know where I found that. But I've seen it more than once to know that there's other people who have caught this too. So it makes me kind of wonder what's the real reason why all the rest of the world's kind of going like, hey, America and your space program. Well, I warned you guys. You're trusting Nazis. They figured it out. Now, when you're trusting Nazis and they're up in space with non-Nazis from Russia, I'm not saying the people they send up there are Nazis. What I'm telling you is that the Nazis have not forgotten about World War II. The Nazis hate Russians. And you're going to ask us, you're going to have them in charge of partnering with the Russians, knowing that the reason why we probably had a Cold War and the biggest promoters of said Cold War were the very ones that we brought over from Nazi Germany to build our missile defense program, which we then proceeded to aim at Russia for how many years? And they aimed them at us too. I get it, guys. But do you understand what happened there? World War II just like ended and they gave us a Cold War in America. They gave us a Cold War with Russia. And then after they removed that Cold War with Russia, which was mostly illusory for them, it was designed to trick us, but they kept on with their Cold War. Because the same one that they're doing to Russia now is what they're doing to all of us. America, they're doing it to us. They're in control of your SATCOMs. They're in control of the media organizations. When you wake up and realize this, you're going to get why everything's kind of bizarre right now, because everything I'm telling you will have a larger connection to, yes, media organizations, and then the very formation of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, since its inception, has always been tied to Hollywood studios. Always. Guys, do you think it's a coincidence that when I went out to the Nevada FBI, that right across the street from their main entrance is Stargate Plumbing? I literally found that there. I could not believe it. I'm like, I've been reporting about Stargate Project. Again, guys, it could just be the name, but really, Stargate for a plumbing company? I mean, hey, whoever you are, you're hip. That's cool. I mean, if you're not, whatever the other thing is, hip name, cool. Hey, I just think that Stargate has become such. It's a little bit like the Holy Grail. A Stargate, I think, is a lot like a Holy Grail. It's geographic in nature and it's DNA in nature. It's both. It's a bloodline and it's a place. It's all of it. It's because the bloodline is the place. The map, as Robert Anton Wilson quoted from somebody else, but he popularized it, the map is not the territory. We are the map. We're creating it. The map is not the territory. We are creating the boundaries of the map that we're in. We're creating the boundary. That's why earlier today, I really loved that song that said, everybody's going to the moon, which I learned was sung by 3 Degrees, a band named 3 Degrees sang, everybody gets to go to the moon. And the song just makes me happy. I don't know what it is. You should listen to it. I posted it on my Twitter. I can get you a link to it. I can't play it, though. I'll get in trouble. But it had just great lyrics, you know. Everybody's going to the moon. It's just this big celebratory song. It was done like, a few decades ago. They probably believed that there was going to be some great big elevator taking us there and anytime now. Didn't happen though, did it? All these innovations that we experience, you would think that we would be at all these places by now, but it does call into question about what's really gone on. What was the space race? What was it really? Was it a space race of perceptions? Just like the Cold War, a space race of perceptions. getting us to all be what? In a chill here and afraid. What did the Cold War achieve, folks? Think about it. Just so you know, I don't think everybody in aeronautics or aerospace is a Nazi, so don't worry, guys. I don't think that. So let's all get clear on that, folks. I need you to understand that anytime you hear me discuss a topic, I don't care if I'm talking about the FBI and the CIA even, I never, ever, ever believe that all these groups are 100% toxic or poisoned. Quite the contrary. I tend to think that it's a much smaller percentage. I think usually these places tops have about 10% rotten people at the most that know how to pull the strings of everybody underneath to get them to do things in a compartmentalized fashion, to not have a freaking clue that it's going nowhere. They do it with nonprofit agencies that are supposed to be finding missing children. They do it. And guys, that's the worst one that I've been trying to report to the FBI. I'm like, you guys, you are in that, because I'm a communications engineer. Like, I know how intercepts work. Guys, I worked at a central switching office for a telecommunications company where all the circuits go in, you have cross connect panels and everything else like that. So, okay, I'm telling you that because I use my work experience to expose those types of things. All right. And I'm not a bad person, yet I'm conscious and aware that people can do really horrible things with radio communications. They can do really horrible things with electromagnetic signals and scalar technology. And what I chose to do was to leave my career and to just be a person that examines all this data, reports on it. And I started with psychic research papers because they all were talking about frequency. I wasn't even going to look for psychic research initially, but I noticed that every time I was trying to find something that I would know about from my wireless industry experience, I would just run into the material that was close to psychic research and Science Applications International Corporation. And these reports called like the Defense Intelligence Agency report called Controlled Defensive Behavior, the Army report called the Gateway Experience. See, I was doing search terms relative to electromagnetics and frequencies. And then that opened me up to this whole new world of psychic research. Then when I started researching that, you guys, that's when I discovered that that was a lab that my own brother worked at for 6 years that was doing all of this. All of it. All the compromises of our telephone systems are things they touch. All the compromises of our internet routes are things that they touch or own. Guys, all of it. It doesn't matter if it's warehousing of phone numbers, internet addresses. And then once you get past that, okay, because that's management of routes to how you get information. That's extremely important to remember. Okay, people just just forget it. They like, well, I subscribe to a phone, and so the company, they send me this stream of the information, right? What are you getting versus what are you not getting? How do you know you get all the information? How do you know that there's not people that have been trying to call you for the last decade? How do you know? You know, guys, with the way telecommunications, you trust your devices so much right now, they could just tell you somebody died that didn't die. And they could make it look that convincing to half the country, and the other half of the country would know the person's alive, and half the country would think they're dead. They're good at it. And so what this has done effectively, I believe, is created a secondary set of communication routes that they have as exploitable. I mean, like, we have our internet that we know to be an internet, and then they just created one that's secondary, that's a near mirror of the original internet. It works exactly like it did, guys, when I worked at a telephone company, all right? The master brain, where everything led back to, had a main, and it had a backup. And so you had something called switch active side, SWACT, that you would do every day. I don't think you did it every day. I think you did it at night. I wasn't a switch engineer, you guys, but I worked in the switch because I was a telecommunication engineer, so you had to bring routes back to it. Others specialized in what I'm talking about, and they were way more genius about that than I am. But the whole point, though, is that, you know, everything goes back to a master brain, you know, that it leads into. And so when you have that kind of awareness and that kind of education into how really the backbone of how everything involving telecommunications works, then yeah, I mean, you can bring something different to it. Now, I just started to discover that not all these things were as sort of like as trustworthy as that you would expect them to be. And then when I started learning that some of the people that were at the head of these organizations had troubling histories. Well, for example, the person that J. Robert Bayester is the alleged CEO of Science Applications International Corporation that had all this. I'm going to tell you guys all about the history of the companies and everything in a bit here. He basically, in fact, it might actually help you if I put these slides up while I'm talking about this, because I have all this ready to go. For once, I'm not actually scrambling for all the links. I actually have everything up here, but let's see here. Well, this is about the thing on total information awareness, but that's why I looked up SAIC so that you could see. So this is a company that I'm telling you about. And this basically is where it all led back to. And this company has just been this like massive behemoth of a beast of a defense company that have you noticed, guys, they're always telling you about Lockheed Martin. They're always telling you about Raytheon. They're always telling you about blah, blah, blah. You hear about all of them, but I am like one of the only people that ever discusses Science Applications International Corporation. Why? This is interesting, folks. To me, like, you want to see why they're so Nazi. This is to me like very telling. Von Braun. All right. Now, guys, you know who Von Braun is? If you don't, this is Werner von Braun. Von Braun joined the Nazi SS horseback riding school on November 1st, blah, 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 right? Okay, he worked under the Nazi regime. In 1933, von Braun was working on his creative doctorate when the Nazi Party came to power. So again, he was in aerospace. Von Braun was awarded a doctorate in physics, aerospace engineering from the University of Berlin, and he was a Nazi SS. That's him. That's an SS. That's their Nazi symbols. Okay. Actually, those look like regular Nazis there. So that would allude to that. Wait, no, Knight's Cross. No, those are guys with the Knight's Cross. Okay. But von Braun was SS. He was an elite scientist within that group. All right. So now think that through a little bit, guys. That's his history. Now I get it. I get it, guys. From a defense, standard, right? We need to, what do you want to call it? Like, we need the knowledge. You would want to know what the Nazis know. You wouldn't want them just going all over the world and like escaping and things like that. Touche, understandable. But maybe handle it the way Russia did. You keep them as prisoners of war and you make them tell you things. America said, "Hey, Werner, come on over, buddy." And then they proceeded to do this. Guys, look, he has this, the Von Braun Astronomical Society that exists here in America. He has the Von Braun. Now this is the one that I thought was really interesting. The Von Braun Center for Science and Innovation. Now check this out. Okay, guys, he's a Nazi. Now I told you SAIC is behind all the shenanigans, right? Phone company, okay, telephone routes, internet routes, psychic research, all that. They basically had nearly 90% of all the Stargate project research. Now check this out. The Von Braun Center for Science and Innovation. Members, the corporate members are, yep, you got it, guys. Who's worshiping the Nazi SS, but old Science Applications International Corporation? But this is what makes this super fucking funny, guys. I'm sorry, I just dropped an F-bomb on you. Look at this. Science Applications International Corporation. But look, Dynetics is also sponsoring them. This is where it just gets beyond funny. Well, look. What is Dynetics? Dynetics is a Leidos company. Now, hold, guys. Wait for this. Okay, are you following me still? Now, what happened to SAIC? Leidos, formerly known as Science Applications International Corporation, is an American defense aviation. So do you see what just happened, folks? How we got from von Braun Nazi SS to Leidos to Dynetics to SAIC. All of them sponsoring the von Braun Astronomical Society, and they're the same company. Thank you. They're sponsoring themselves. Thank you. But you know who's paying the bills on all this? Nice, huh? And did you guys know? Did you guys remember? So, ay ay ay. Hang on. So it all leads back to here, folks. Really, Operation Paperclip was a secret U.S. intelligence program in which more than 1,600 German scientists, engineers, and technicians, such as Werner von Braun and his V-2 rocket team, were taken from Germany to the United States for U.S. government employment, primarily between 1945 and 1959. Conducted by Joint Intelligence Objective Agency, it was largely carried out by special agents of the U.S. Army's Counterintelligence Corps, CIC. Many of these personnel were former members, and some were former leaders of the Nazi Party. Some were former leaders of the Nazi Party. The primary purpose for Operation Paperclip was U.S. military advantage in the Soviet-American Cold War and the space race. In a comparable operation, the Soviet Union relocated more than 2,200 German specialists, a total of more than 6,000 people, including family members, with Operation Ozo Aviakum. Sorry, I'm not very good with my Russian there. During one night on October 22nd, 1946. So again, they did something similar, okay? It really is. Yeah, this is it. So I'm just trying to give you guys an idea as to like why these types of things happen. You know, why do we get these bizarre types of programs? Actually, hang on. How did I wind up there? I started it. There we go. Okay. That's why I was trying to show you guys, like, I don't know if you remember this program here, but this was an idea of Science Applications International Corporation, so that you have an idea of the kind of insanity. The Total Information Awareness IAO was established by the U.S. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, in January 2002 to bring together several DARPA projects focused on applying surveillance and information technology to track and monitor terrorists and other asymmetric threats to U.S. national security by achieving total information awareness, TIA. That's really strange, guys, because I don't know if you know this, but those of you who speak Spanish, TIA is aunt. That means your aunt in Spanish. So like, you would say like, that's my tío if it's your uncle. And if it's your aunt, you'd say that's my tía. Interesting, because I know some Connors that, that are into those tías. Anyways, this was achieved by creating enormous computer databases to gather and store the personal information of everyone in the United States, including personal emails, social networks, credit card records, phone calls, medical records, and numerous other sources without any requirement for a search warrant. This information was then analyzed to look for suspicious activities, connections between individuals, and threats. Additionally, the program included funding for biometric surveillance technologies that could identify and track individuals using surveillance cameras and other methods. Following public criticism that the development and deployment of this technology could potentially lead to a mass surveillance system, the IAO was defunded by Congress in 2003. However, several IAO projects continue to be funded and merely run under different names, as revealed by Edward Snowden during the course of the 2013 mass surveillance disclosures. How do you like that logo, guys? Now, I want you to think about this, okay? Now, like this is the company that's like really enthusiastic about Nazis. This is the same company that's managing through Dynetics, the space program. This is their idea. It's their idea. A private corporation is coming to the Defense Department and going like, hey, America, hey, we want to do this. Come on, trust us. Trust us again. Yeah, right. Sorry, guys. Technical error. All right. Lost my window. Get this back up here. There it is. Okay. I have too many things open right now, so I okay, hang on. This is confusing. I don't have that big of a monitor either. All right, there it is. I just don't know where the hell that window went. Oh, there it is. Okay, here it is. Got it. So what I'm suggesting, folks, is that what we're really dealing with now that you kind of know what that total information awareness. Well, actually, I didn't really show that part to you, so let me do that really fast. This here, this bloated project, if you look into its history, hang on, I'm going to give you all the. IAO was established after John Poindexter, former U.S. National Security Advisor to Ronald Reagan's, and SAIC executive Brian Hicks approached the U.S. Department of Defense with the idea of an information awareness program after 9/11, which, by the way, SAIC has tons and tons of connections to. They were connected to the investigation of the building. They were the ones that made suggestions that what happened to the building. They warned the World Trade Center, and then like, well, gee, right after they report warning them about it, and they didn't, hire somebody to do something about that warning. Well, the warning happened. Not once, but twice. And both times, SAIC was there by the Twin Towers. Interesting correlation, guys. Not only are they connected to all this, but they're also connected to the Twin Towers event. So get past that. Sounds like a little bit of a Hegelian dialect thing we've been dealing with SAIC. In my mind, guys, I really feel like we're being awed by these people. That's my opinion. TIA's 2 core projects are now operated by Advanced Research and Development Activity, ARDA, located among the 60-odd buildings of Crypto City at NSA headquarters in Fort Meade. Remember, my information involves Lake Mead. Interesting, isn't it? My connection to Lake Mead in Nevada connects that in a very beautiful way to a pyramid in Russia named the Altai Pyramid. It connects to Lake Mead. It really does, guys. And I've already explained that. I don't want to go into that material tonight, but it's a beautiful connection that demonstrates the way that patterns exist in nature and our interconnectedness within energetics and geography. It's a really beautiful discovery involving the way the fabric of nature works, and they're hiding it. They're hiding it, guys. They're pretending that I don't exist, and they're acting like this beautiful discovery doesn't exist. It's like they want to just delete me out of existence and say, like, that's not a thing. It is. I just have very few people I can explain it to who would understand. And I've tried to here. And I know some people get it, but usually it just kind of goes, they look at me like, I don't get it. That's all right. I want to talk about that right now. But let's keep talking about this part here, because this is extremely important, the names of their programs. Because you got to understand how they bind DNA and plasma to information collection, and that Basque genetics have the most plasma. Think this through. ARDA itself has been shifted from the NSA to the Disruptive Technology Office. Disruptive Technology. Run by the Director of National Intelligence. They are funded by National Foreign Intelligence Program for foreign counter-terrorism intelligence purposes. One technology, codenamed Basketball, is the Information Awareness Prototype System, the core architecture to integrate all the TIA's information extraction, analysis, and dissemination tools. Work on this project is conducted by, you got it, Science Applications International Corporation, which I'm going to remind you again, my own brother worked at between 1993 to 1999. Work on this project is conducted by that SAIC through its former Hicks and Associates consulting arm and run by former defense and military officials, and which had originally been awarded US $19 million IAO contract to build the prototype system in late 2002. The other projects has been reassigned Topsail, formerly Genoa 2, and would provide IT tools to help anticipate and preempt terrorist attacks. SAIC has also been contracted to work on Topsail, including you'll love this, guys, $3.7 million contract in 2005. Now, this may seem petty of me, guys, but I promise you it's not, because these people are, look, I'm gonna be blunt. Unsolved. Why is that? The Zodiac himself once claimed to have murdered 37 victims, and he has been linked to several other old cold cases. Notice this article keeps assuming that it's one guy, and it's not. It's obviously a group. It's a group of very crafty Nazis that know how to get everybody's attention and focused on certain numbers and away from the truth of reality. 3 sevens, guys. 3 sevens is 777. That's kind of the way codes and ciphers work. 3 times 7 is 21. Okay. 2 plus 1 is 3. So it's another way of also communicating 333. 777 333 21 21 21. What is today? Well, what is this year? Well, it's 21, 2021. Interesting. And everything to do with the Zodiac, if you ask me, will also be connected to this, because the things that they were doing within those crimes involve timelines also. That's why I'm bringing it up. Because there's people that are modern Zodiacs that tap into this exact thing to perform modern day kills using radio frequency, electronic weapons, shock weapons, especially shock and tasing type weapon devices that they use on the road. 777 is a frequency number that they often use for communications. So they're hacking certain communication networks. For example, I used to work with 850 megahertz bands, and I'm aware that there's a correlative channel 777 that matches a frequency that's in like the 880 some megahertz range, transmit and receive. It's somewhere in that general area. Okay, so you have one signal that goes up, one that goes down. The way they shorten the math into where you don't have to like look at a long list of numbers, you can just correlate channel 777 will equal this transmit signal, this receive signal. And that's how they do things in telecommunications for quick reference. And there's math behind it and everything too, but I don't want to get into that. And so the reason why I'm telling you this, guys, is because the communication aspects of this are huge. There's backdoor networks that are used within the underground systems that are underground, that are basically transmitted through tunnels that oftentimes are not used very much above ground. And this is something that me as a telecommunications engineer, I was researching this, and this is like information that the FBI ignored. And that's when I knew something was wrong, guys. Like, I was like, I'm using my actual technical experience and going, guys, I'm actually finding repurposing of signals where they're taking like the 777 channel attached to the 850 megahertz B bands. And I found it with a spectrum analyzer transmitting from an underground place. I was at an apartment building that I knew some shady things was going at because I was being shocked aggressively while I was there. And I'm not the kind of person that takes that shit. And I get out my meters and I start investigating, and I was being discouraged from doing it, by the way, but I did it anyways. And I started like scanning for frequencies. And then I started noticing that as I got further into the basement areas and the lower levels, because I was on the 4th level, this signal got stronger. Now, guys, when you go underneath, like ground level, and the tower is the source of the signal, your signal gets weaker, I can assure you. You do not get a stronger signal the deeper you get. Anybody who's ever had a basement knows what I'm talking about. Your signal either dissipates radically or it's completely done. It's either a lot of people would just simply go to no service inside their basements, depending on the construction and the strength of the service around them. Nowadays, doesn't happen as much. But yeah, I mean, back in closer to the earlier days, I mean, nearly any basement would kill a signal, and now it still does. I'm telling you this because I was a specialist in delivering signals to in-building environments in the last 2 years of my career. It's something that I know a great deal about, and so it's from that series of work experiences that I learned all about, you know, the deeper aspects of all the abuses that can go on within trapping traffic. You see, my function was to help people. Like, for example, if one thing that we would do is like my group was contracted to do things like if a doctor could not get phone calls in the doctor's lounge of a basement of a hospital, it would be my job to go measure that facility, the hospital, do a complete signal analysis of it wearing with his professional backpack, and then bring in the signal from like an antenna on the rooftop that would transmit the signal down into the basement. That way the doctor could get their call in an emergency while they were inside the doctor's lounge. So that's an example of like things that you would do that are there to help. Okay. What I'm telling people is, it occurred to me after I left my career that you could install a system very similar that operates to just simply trap traffic and keep it in a Harris stingray type environment. And then once I understood that, I thought, whoa, somebody definitely thought to do this. Definitely. There is no way in hell that all those high-rise buildings in New York and LA, that not a single one of these crafty landowners or real estate moguls did not think to put in a distributed antenna system that would effectively trap every single call in the building into a central DAS, distributed antenna system, that would then connect it to something consistent with like a Harris Stingray intercept type of device. Of course they would have thought about it. And you have to understand, guys, like in my career, I didn't even think to do things like this. It never even occurred to me to like steal a bunch of people's calls as a person like myself. Like, and it wasn't something that we ran across in the industry, at least knowingly. I didn't hear a lot of people going like, yeah, we found out, blah, blah, blah. The only reason why I'm even familiar with this could be a thing is because part of my job involves sometimes it happened mostly like with county buildings and city buildings, for example, where, you know, management changes or a new boss comes in and like an old staff is gone or whatever. And then the new guy who's in charge of information technology or whatever comes in and says, what is this thing? And then there's like a label on it that says, call this company if you have any outages or whatever. So then, you know, my boss would get a call and he'd be like, hey, they've got something over there and they don't know what it is. Why don't you go check it out? And sometimes I would literally do detection and find hidden systems and find hidden antennas. So I have that as a skill set, folks. It's something that I know way more than average about. All right. And that's when I started discovering that, you know, it occurred to me that maybe the FBI is aware that this is all happening and they're benefiting from it. And that since the criminals are doing it the same way as like people that are in certain intelligence services are doing it, it's just something where they're kind of like, well, I think we just prefer that nobody knows that anybody's doing it. And they just all assume that it's all just really, you know, secure and there's no flaws in it. And there's like nothing that could possibly happen, when it seems to be kind of commonplace. It seems like there's like entire neighborhoods where they're doing this, guys, where like all you have to really do is sometimes be the closest person to the cell tower in a residential neighborhood, and you could achieve something very similar to where you can make it to where everybody who drives in a certain parameter, if you get enough people connected to it, could just trap the traffic and then take a cut of everything that goes in and out. How would that work? You make a simple transaction like on a food application, they just add $1. They just add 50 cents. You go to Amazon and you make a purchase that you think the item's super cheap, but you know, maybe you thought $8 was cheap, but how do you know that the original price wasn't $7.25? See, they can make an extra 75 cents because you don't even see that they're taking it from you. You saw $7.25, the real price. They usually don't do something even like they'll make it to where the numbers have a closer match. It's usually, there's more voodoo than that. Like, how do I say it? Like, if it's $8.80, like if it's $8.08, they'll make it $8.80. And then they keep the 72 or something like that. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, I know it doesn't seem like that would be like worth doing, but if you do it to everybody all day long that goes in and out of a certain area, and it's like near a shopping center and a residential area where a lot of people live, and they're all using their cell phones to make purchases all day long, then yeah, there you go, like $9.99, like making it $9.09 instead of $9.99, things like that. I mean, whatever it is, guys. Okay, I mean, seriously, it's just the technique that's being used. And it's bad in Vegas. I mean, to me, I don't even know how the hell there's a functioning network here because it's so hacked. And the hacks are so many different kinds. They push you on to certain servers that, like, if you're one telltale sign that you're on it is like if you have iMessage turned off on your iPhone, this will enable it automatically, and you'll look on your settings and it's not on. Yet you can tell based on the color of the way the text message lights up that you're using iMessage, and you're like, I'm not using iMessage. I only use standard text message. Why is iMessage showing as being on? It'll happen when you walk into certain buildings, and all of a sudden things on your phone begin to change. The behavior changes because you're kind of being mirrored, and it's pushing to you a different experience. And that's how the intercept works. And I realize this, guys. In fact, there's in Henderson, Nevada. I noticed this. There's one place, I won't say exactly where it is, but there's a shopping center that every single time I go in there, I know it's a DAS trap because my phone starts to immediately behave completely different. And that's why I know if I go in there, I would just turn off my data and I would reset my phone a lot because I knew it was too risky. I didn't want people messing with my phone in there. And that was a place where I could tell right away it was being hacked. That's what's maddening, guys. And you have my level of experience, you can tell. Most people, they don't even have a clue. So it's like, I don't know. All right, so let's get back into the actual material here, because I didn't want to deviate too far from that with all this Zodiac crap. But there is a connection to all this, guys. Seriously, I know. But it's part of the modern Zodiac's troll with data hacks and getting into your environment. And this is one of their methods of doing it, is InfraGard. This basically deputized a whole bunch of corrupt assholes in America. That's the only way I can explain it to you. There's a whole bunch of little junior G-men that are out there, and women that are all thinking that they're super secret spy number one. And they're driving around with license plates that say 007. And I'm not joking, guys. I'm not joking. They've been given so much authority by InfraGard that they really believe that they're little junior G-men. It's annoying. They think they're spies. They pretend to be spies. And what makes this bad is a lot of them work for tech companies. And sometimes you're like the heads of securities of some of these places. And some are just deranged pedophiles. And because the companies are also sometimes run by deranged pedophiles, guess what? Sometimes these are deranged pedophiles that also think that the best thing for them, knowing what's going to happen, because they can kind of tell what the military is doing to our internet right now. That's good. That these tech companies are aggressively fighting to change people's perceptions. They're aggressively fighting to mess with everybody in the public. They've declared war on America, guys. I don't think you understand it. The people we get our information from, I think this audience understands it largely. They're declaring war on America along with the CCP. What I'm telling you is that it's a quiet coup. This is how it's done. It is psychoenergetic in nature. China's not just going to come right out and say it, whatever, because they don't want a war with America that's direct. That would be bad. They do it the soft way. And again, guys, I'm not blaming China as a whole. I think the way this is going down is much like the way the US makes attacks globally. They do it through information, and they do it through these little groups at the CIA who are like, poke, 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 poke. You know why? Because they're not the ones who are going to have to fight. They're not the ones whose kids are going to die. It's not going to be their blood spilled. It's going to be yours. You and the rest of these people are the ones who are going to have to suffer, while all these little high-ranking ones up here are just going like, hey, America, let's go to war. And over here we're going like, hey, China, hey, Iran. Hey. Mind you, guys, some of these places are formidable threats, and I'm not suggesting otherwise, but I'm telling you that we wouldn't have half the problems with them if we didn't have a CIA that's just going around in our name doing horrible things. And when you trace the origins of the CIA back, you're going to find all the same connections you found to the space program. The same connections. They give themselves authority. They give each other awards after they give each other authority and positions. And then they're all like, you're all impressed. We all do it. Oh, they won the award for best whatever, or they got honored by this society of the science and astronomical aerospace, blah, blah, blah. Nazis giving Nazis awards. Who's the real innovators? I mean, yeah, we have some guys, but I mean, that's what's sad about this. It's almost like they hinge so much of the trust of innovation on these Nazi bloodlines that now they're sort of beholden to them. They're scared of them, and they've taken hostage of our country. And they're kind of telling these high-ranking people, and guys, I've done articles on this before. This is where you're getting into not only that they're in control of the satellite communications, but they also control uranium and nuclear cleanup. Now you're beginning to get it, right? Uranium and nuclear cleanup on top of it. Think about it. They're sitting there going like, now we trusted them for this many decades. They're telling us, guess what, guys? If you want space junk raining down on you and radon gas floating all across America, you'll piss us off. You haven't figured it out. Here's the thing, though, folks. Don't be scared of them. Don't. It's mostly illusory, and they're doing it to scare you. They have no intentions of really going through with a lot of those things, but they'll make you believe they can and will. Behind the scenes, guys. The only reason why these people still have control, even though everybody knows who they are, is because they realize that they have been trusting them with so much underground and up in the sky for so long, and that there's no quick way to exit out. So the thing I want you to know is what I'm realizing is that the military has basically created a plan to sort of trap the traffic that is of a malevolent nature. So these companies that are run by groups that are more partnering with foreign entities to destabilize America, they're going to find their platforms like merged over to one that is a little bit more controlled and monitored by the military, so that they can see where the censorship's occurring. They can actually witness it in real time. And what I was given as information, and you can take this or leave it, was that part of what I was doing when I was on the coast was meant to act as a beacon for all those activities. That there's forward and backward involving timeline. There's things that I do now that prepare them for another timeline. And so they do use me. Yeah. And some of the reason why is because it's a little bit like, you asked, you said you wanted to do it. And I did. I actually walked into a military office and I asked if I could help. And I guess they took me up on that. But again, I've yet to see any paperwork, so I'm not going to say that definitively. But when I was on the coast, what I was told was being happened is that 101 in Oregon and Washington is especially toxic relative to telecommunications. But it's a route that they could test something out on quickly. And they want me to even say this, guys. So, if it's not true, then whatever, but I think it is, that they established a high-speed data route that goes from the Oregon coast that's near the towns of like Lincoln City, Otis, and Newport. There's a whole bunch of areas over there where they established via pre-existing systems that are waterways and caverns and tunnel systems that exist, and they added some in the process, but most of these were existing in nature. That they were able to add high capacity, similar to like underwater sea cables that go from one continent to the other. They have something that's kind of similar that's established between the coast of America in Oregon specifically. And that it's routed into central Oregon into a series of data centers that are managed by, well, not managed, but have relationships that are more friendly to the military. and that there's data centers in Prineville, Oregon, that you can look this up on your own, that are managed by Facebook, that are managed by Apple, just to name a couple, that you would never expect that they would have their major data centers or any major hubs of their data in the middle of this town that maybe is like 2,500 people. Nice little town. I mean, but it is in Central Oregon, kind of in the middle of the desert, like high rural desert area. And full disclosure, I mean, I lived really close to this area for a while, and my uncle used to, before he passed away, live just down the road from where all this activity occurred. He was just down the road. He lived in Powell Butte for a while. Rest in peace. I'm personally in belief of this only because before the times that I saw him before he died, he was really, really, really trying to communicate something to me. And he showed me a lot of love and compassion. And I do think he was sending me a lot of information because it was coming through so clear, and he's a family member. And so how did I know all these things? How did I know to go to Prineville? How did I just know intuitively what was going on always? How did I keep tapping into it and knowing what was happening? Because I didn't get the guidebook on it. Nobody ever brought me into a meeting. Again, I did volunteer my help. And what I told the people at the Army when I went into that recruitment office, I said, listen, I'm just going to tell you, I have considerable psi ability, and I'd like to help. And I just left it at that. Now, whether the two people that were in that office at the time took me seriously or not is irrelevant. Cameras watched me. Cameras recorded me. And I'm conscious and aware of that. So I know somebody who understands psychological warfare, somebody who understands what's really going on with our infrastructure, also knows that I would be an ideal person to have a conversation with America about this. Why? Because my entire job involved establishing communication and telecommunication routes exactly like we're talking about. It was my career, it was my entire livelihood, and it was that of the people that I considered my family and loved dearly. And I wish I could be with them today, because they really were the people that I bonded with closest in my life. But my situation, it just got, I have to establish bridges, guys, so that all these good people that understand what's going on now could help do this. And you have to remember the problem that we're having. This is the way they can sell this, because the Twitters and the other companies, the Facebooks, they can act like this is some oppressive government action when it's actually designed to liberate us. It's actually designed to free us from a group of companies that have North Korea'd our asses, that are largely run by deranged predators. I'm sorry, guys, you don't want to believe that typically. This audience, not so much. I think they get it. But most people want to think that these are the real CEOs and that they're actually in charge of something, and they're just not. They are a buffer of the real people. And the people that they hide are ones that never want any amount of scrutiny at all. They don't want you knowing their names, where they live, what they look like. And that's why they create Elon Musk. That's why they create Jeff Bezos, and then have protesters like set up guillotines and go, boo this man. We hate you, Jeff Bezos, boo. He doesn't exist. He's an actor. He's a buffer character for the mafia that owns Amazon, that created Amazon. Who's who? The same deep state people that keep giving themselves more authority, like InfraGard, FBI. I would say that's just an extension of this Naziification of our country in general through the CIA and NASA and Operation Paperclip. So, getting to it. InfraGard is a program that's basically advertised. Well, let's take a look at what they actually say here. that is a nonprofit organization as a public-private partnership between U.S. businesses and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The organization is an information sharing and analysis effort serving the interests and combining the knowledge base of a wide range of private sector and government members. InfraGard is an association of individuals that facilitates information sharing and intelligence between businesses, academic institutions, state and local law enforcement agencies, and other participants dedicated to prevent hostile acts against the United States. InfraGard's mutual non-disclosure agreements among its members and individuals and the FBI promotes trusted discussions of vulnerabilities and solutions that companies and individuals may be hesitant to place in the public domain, and provide access to additional threat information from the FBI. You know, what does that amount to? Think that through a little bit. What are you doing except for creating a Stasi, a corporate Stasi? InfraGard began in the Cleveland, Ohio field office in 1996 and has since expanded to become a national level program. You know what else? You know what else is in Ohio? Well, a recent event, right, that started up more riots, the Ma'Khia Bryant thing. That's next to Battelle. Battelle Memorial Institute runs all the Department of Energy labs for the most part, not all of them, but a good percentage, if not a majority, then more than everybody else does. And that's where a lot of this is all originating, guys. I mean, really, we are always looking at defense directly, or the military, like Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines kind of branches, or CIA, even FBI. But you need to start digging deeper into partnerships formed between Department of Energy relative to, like, for example, like most things, I found out by just running across, quite accidentally, information related to my family. And then I discovered not only did I have a brother that worked at SAIC between 1993 to 1999, that everything that I'm telling you now about DOE relationships is I learned by just bumping into information about him. And then he was at, or is, if he may still be, I don't know, I haven't looked lately, but at the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, see? And then that's how I discovered that they have something called the National Security Directorate. And the National Security Directorate has people from the National Surveillance Administration, or National Security Administration, rather, the NSA. Sorry, the NSA actually has members inside my brother's office at the Department of Energy, and that's all being managed by Battelle, which is based in Ohio, and that Battelle is a nonprofit agency. I also noticed that Battelle, if you look this up, just look up Battelle, Battelle, and COVID. Very Hegelian dialect things going on relative to Battelle and COVID. Oh, you guys have that problem? Just so happens we've got this solution over here all ready to go. You guys want it? Oh, I remember Governor DeWine of Ohio. That's a name. DeWine. Do you know who the mayor of the town that my all right, one of these companies involved, there's a town that they're based in and have been there since 1905. The mayor of that town is Scott Drinkwine. Yes, his name is the words drink wine. Not even with like swapping the I and an E, or, you know, it's not like drink wine like WEIN. No. It's literally DRINKWINE. Guys, I have to show you this. I don't want this to be even like a question mark. I may have the first name wrong. Sean. I'm sorry. I can't make this up, guys. Guys, hey, hey. So who do you think our politicians really are, guys? Who do you think Mike DeWine really is? Is he a real person that's actually qualified to run things? Or is he a buffer character for a mafia, you think? Is Mayor Sean Drinkwine an actual qualified guy? Or is he just a character made up to run things in the town that the mafia lives in? Longing to live in a small town like the one he was raised, Drinkwine escaped the busy lifestyle of Reno, Nevada, and relocated to Estacada in 2016 to become a professional politician where he could run the town for the mafia. I'm sorry. That's the plot line for the movie. Never mind. Collaborating with his wife, Mary, he co founded and currently co owns, operates a local service related business. He is a thoughtful, kind, and considerate, devoted family man, yet business minded and driven for success. He is passionate about the future of his community and helping others succeed. As a small business owner, he demonstrates and understands the challenges faced during economic recession. A demonstrated leader with a strong desire to serve, he will utilize the knowledge experience gained as a city councilor. As mayor, he will promote the progress and development to generate business opportunities for jobs and tourism, yet maintain the beauty and enchantment of Estacada for community members and visitors to experience and enjoy for many years to come. Hey guys, that's a great description for a town that nearly everybody in the Portland area has nicknamed Incesticada, because when you go there, it kind of reminds you of Deliverance. Yeah. I'll tell you what you might also find interesting about this town involving Sean Drinkwine. Let's take a look here. Let's look at Oddfellow Cemetery. Estacada, Oregon. Oh, how about that? There you go, guys. Yep, you got it. There's not many Oddfellow cemeteries, but there's one in Estacada. Hey guys, did I mention that that's the town that I was living in and got shocked in for about a year? In a house owned by a Rebecca. Right, mommy dearest? Anyways. In case you're wondering why that's of interest, it's because that's the bloodline connection, see? IOF Cemetery. They don't have very many of them. There's one in Lebanon, Oregon. There's one in Merrill, Oregon, and there's one in Estacada, Oregon. And so interesting that, well, my mom decides to go live in a town. Anyways. But IOF Cemetery is, Merrill, Oregon. And this is the one where Martha Hatfield Pettigrew, my grandmother, was buried. Her mother was buried, and they're both Rebecca. So Rebecca Oddfellows. So I'm just giving you guys that as like a thing about, whatever, right? And you may find this interesting too, folks, just really quick. I won't get too deep into this topic except to say that this is just important for you to see. When you call Day, you get answers. Whether you're seeking a Motorola two-way radio system or need solutions for your complex communication challenge, we can help. Anyways, I'm not trying to do their commercials, but notice down here it says, we know that culture matters and proudly trace our company heritage over 100 years to the founding of Estacada Telephone in 1905 and Day Wireless since 1969, dude. Yeah, they're really fond of that number. Did you also know that Day Wireless has donated a lot of repeater equipment to the local fire department in Estacada, which is also named Fire Department 69? This is the same Estacada that experienced the huge fire in Clackamas County. Those of you who remember, a lot of controversy because Antifa was pretty close to those fires. And they were out there doing a lot of suspicious things. And guess where? I looked at the footage, guys. I examined it last summer pretty heavily. And you know where they were? Right on the outskirts of Old Estacada, where I used to live. Starting, well, look, guys, all the evidence is there that there was a bunch of guys out there that were starting fires. That those weren't wildfires that started because they were wild. It wasn't climate change. Sorry, Newsom. It wasn't climate change. It wasn't climate change. No, it wasn't climate change. In those cases, guys, people were starting fires. And there was footage that was floating around YouTube where guys that were known agitators with Antifa that had actually punched some Republicans in DC and got caught on camera doing it were the same ones found right next to this town going, what are you pulling me over for, man? What are you talking about? We got those canisters in the car so we could put out fires. What are they trying to say, that we're starting fires? No, we're trying to put out fires. What are these rednecks around here saying things for? What are you talking about me for, cop, huh? And I was watching this footage of these guys because they claimed, okay, that they were out in this town, all right? They claimed they're out in one of these towns here, near Estacada in Clackamas County during that same time, helping out with the fires. But they hate the locals and they call them rednecks and yokels. And they also hate the cops. What kind of person do you think is in the public service that goes out of their way and risks their lives to go out when they hate the people they're saving and they hate the people that would be saving the people they're hating, they're saving? Because they don't like cops and they don't like the people that live in Clackamas County. So I asked those people, what the were you doing out there? And why the isn't the FBI on your ass? Oh, I forgot. The one guy, if you followed the research on him, he's already been arrested by the FBI. In fact, he seems to be an informant, and he's not even supposed to go across state lines, but he was punching Republicans in DC, then coming back to Oregon and literally posting on social media, buying fuel canisters on Home Depot. Then he's caught on YouTube mouthing off the cops while fires are starting everywhere near him. FBI still doesn't want to talk to me, though. Way to go, guys. You're just really proving how fucking worthless you are globally. But it gives the military an option to do something now, doesn't it? Because you're proving that you're letting our country get lit up on fire. You're proving that you're letting these people agitate, disrupt, steal communications, and you know who they are. The same people connected to these communication companies, not saying anyone in particular or anything like that. I'm just saying. A lot of them are connected to that town, and a lot of them have some pretty clever logos. I don't know which ones, it's hard for me to say, but a lot of them have some pretty clever logos. Hey guys, have you seen the clever logo of another company? I'm not saying this one's doing anything or anything like that. I'm just saying. Hey, take a look at the logo of another company. Let's take a look at something really quick here. Let's take a look at another Oregon-based company, not far from the headquarters of Day. Let's take a look at this one, guys. What do you say? Who's close to Day? Who's just down the street in Oregon from Day? Yep. Yeah, Lamb Research. Yeah, check this out. Notice something? Oops, suddenly disappeared. Yeah, you notice something here, guys? These two companies that are really close to each other. Do you know that these companies are really close to Durham, Oregon? Durham investigation. I feel a little bit like that one Oscar presentation that had, what's his face? Hey, what's going on here? Well, there it is. Do you remember that? You remember that year that that David Letterman got all that criticism because he was kind of like poking fun at Uma Thurman and Oprah. He's going, Uma, Oprah, Uma, Oprah, Uma, Oprah. It's kind of how I feel about this logo. It just seems like the fact that they're in the same region, they're right next to each other. Oh, by the way, Lamb is into like, superconductor, like, micro parts, and the owner, Chinese, is into electron beams now. Big into research into electron beams. So, guys, can you imagine if you were to combine like a radio frequency expert, like, people that knew a lot about hacking radio frequency and establishing towers, and also were trusted by the FBI and a lot of law enforcement in many states, and then combine that in with electron beams and extremely high frequency beams and all the little microconductor and small semiconductor parts to do all kinds of clever things with AI and technology. Boy, could you ever take over infrastructure in a large amount of areas. You could pretty much hive other people's networks into your network and monitor everything if you wanted to. And, if you were loyal to another place, then who knows what that could translate to. And again, guys, I'm not telling you that that's what's happening. And I'm not even trying to be all that cheeky about it. I'm telling you that I've had interactions with some of these groups because I lived in Estacada. I lived there. And let me tell you something, guys. Estacada is weird. Weird, weird, weird. I've never been harassed like I was harassed in Estacada. It is bizarre. They get away with shit in Estacada that you would not even believe. The fire department, very cozy with this company, has donated equipment and has plasters their name everywhere like, yay, we love you guys. And it's weird because the chief kind of looks like the owner of that company, but I don't know. Doesn't have the same last name. And that chief of, guys, the chief that's connected to this company lives 2 freaking houses away from where I was with my parents, where I was getting shocked. Just saying. I was getting shocked. Do you know what the person that was connected to all this had inside their backyard? I've got pictures of it. I'd love to show you. I'm going to show you all my pictures of Estacada that I took myself. This happened to me, you guys. This is why I'm not... Look, before I show you this is why I can't go back to my family. I've dropped the information, you guys. I have no place to go when it comes to my family because this leads to too many. And the FBI is not interested in helping. So this is one of the reasons why I ask folks on the outside for greater partnership. And I need contributions, folks. They whittled me down to nothing. So, and I escaped this, and I'm going to show you what I had to get away from. Okay. And I left there with next to nothing, only what was inside my car and $700. And I've been surviving ever since. And they put me out in the middle of the winter, and they lived on top of a hill where people slide off of that mother. Okay. Because it's so cold. You want to talk about some cold-blooded shit. But, they'll say I was the problem, right? I'll tell you what made me a problem. I actually took pictures of the things that were going on, and I actually took measurements of the signals that were being pumped into my body. And, the thing I've learned about certain people is they really don't like evidence being out there. And when you got it, they'll do everything they can to erase that evidence. All right. So this is literally a picture from the backyard that I was living in, okay, in Estacada. I want you to take a look at what the guy that's at the fire department had erected in his yard. Now, keep this in mind. I'm taking this from 2 houses away, okay? I'm going to zoom in so you can see how absurd this is. Look at this thing. Look at these antennas. I can assure you from my wireless experience that this guy is doing a hell of a lot more than just trying to make a couple phone calls or get his wireless signal going a little bit better. Look at this behemoth and look how poorly constructed it is. The guide wire, it's very flexible. And then it's in his yard starting here. And then look what he does. This is supposed to be a professional fireman. He brings the guide wire into the neighbor's yard, to the neighbor's yard, and ties it off on that post, which begs the question, whose houses are these? Ladies and gentlemen, if your next door neighbor asked you if they could construct that pole in their yard, number one, you would be like, I don't want that thing falling on me, if you're logical. Number two, then this asshole says to his neighbor, yeah, I need to tie my guide wire clear across to the other side of your yard, obscuring your view, and you could run into it when your kids or you are out in the yard. Oh, right there on the guide wire. Does this make sense to you? Does it make any sense that that antenna array was 2 houses from where I was? Doesn't make sense to me either, but there's associated signals with it. You'll love this too. I got to show this to you. That's the exact mathematical alignment to the house that I was living in. Estacada House to Faraday Dam, 1.33 miles, 166.94 degrees. 1 plus 6 plus 6 equals 13. 9 plus 4 equals 13. The 1313 cipher that matches the zodiac line that goes between Washington and Cherry in San Francisco and Cherry Joe Bates in Riverside, California, and crosses over my father's house down there in California. Then I'm learning that the house that I'm staying in with these people also does the double 13 thing. And they didn't just aim it anywhere, they aim it at the Faraday Dam. And you do guys know that David Faraday was a victim of the Zodiac killer. And so they live next to the Faraday Dam, 1.33 miles, lining up at 166.94, which is a 1313 cipher if you're into the esoteric, the occult, and numerology, which certain people are. So would you think I was being shocked inside that house for standard reasons, or do you think there may have been more high-level reasons why I was there? Do you think there might have been a greater reason why certain people might have made sure to place me in that exact location where I got shocked and my bioplasma was being aggressively removed from my body? And when I left there, my cheeks were sunken in, my ribs were sunken in. It looked like I wasn't eating. I looked emaciated. What I'm telling you is this red arrow that you see here originates from the house that I was being shocked in. And it winds up at a trajectory of 166.94 degrees. 166 equals 13, add it up. 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 1 is 13. 9 plus 4 is 13. And that's the Faraday dam where it aims to. Coincidence? This is also where all the wildfires started up last summer. Did you know that? All the fires crept right up to that Faraday dam where Antifa was connected to it. And guys, what I tell you, local Antifa near this area is being run by somebody that looks like they could be a relative of mine that I've never met. Who's running shit? Who's hiding it? And why won't the FBI take my information? Why do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Corrupt. So what do you think we have to do now? Because the tail is wagging the dog, especially with technology. The FBI takes its orders from Twitter. The FBI takes its orders from Facebook. And if Facebook is taking millions from the Chinese for our elections, who do you think's letting our elections get rigged by the CCP and insiders in America that are largely Dems, but yeah, Operation Paperclip Nazis? What was all this designed to do? Let me tell you something about what's going on out here. That's a pretty rural area, but you'll find all kinds of people that have some strange loyalty to Hillary Clinton in ways that make you go, I thought I was in the middle of the sticks. I thought I was in the middle of rural Oregon where nobody likes Democrats. Not out there. You'll find a lot of people just love her. They're very enthusiastic. To this day. Like it's a cult. Like she's some high priestess in some witchcraft coven. Wait a second. What coven? What cult would that be? What I mean, is there like some secret society or something like that that's operating here in America that people don't really know about and don't talk about? Who would that be? Remember what KRS-One said about the Masons? Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. He said, if you comprehend what I just said, that's a Masonic lore. That's a Masonic song. Do you know what it means? Here's the deal with the Masons, you guys. There's some good and there's some bad. The good ones, though, they know about the timelines and they're involved with defense projects. So don't get them confused with Nazis, and don't get them confused with whatever has been misrepresented about them. Quite a number of them have been doing some pretty holy work for a long time with people in the military, and they've gotten abused horribly. They've gotten like publicly abused and had tons of conspiracies put out about them and like as a group as a whole that does not apply to them as a whole. It's just simply that here in America, that group I just showed you, the Oddfellows and Rebeccas, they like to co-opt other people's groups, become them, do horrible things as them, and then go, it's the Freemasons. It's the Freemasons. Aren't they bad? I hear they're Nazis. We don't like them, do we? Mm-mm. They're doing it everywhere, guys. Have you seen these clips on Twitter where these ridiculous, like, I'm just gonna be straight up with you, man. I mean, I'm not trying to be all race whatever, but there's these women that are kind of like, they have a look, all right, and they're getting on and being very aggressive with these ridiculously liberal positions involving history of Black people, and they're white women, and they're doing things that kind of stoke flames that are encouraging racial strife. They want white men and Black men arguing over them in the streets, going at each other with the fists And what they'll start doing, guys, and I'm seeing this more and more, this is psyops. This is how they're taking control. This is how they're getting all of us out in the streets to argue. Not me, I don't buy into this crap, but I can see the architecture of it. She'll get on there and she'll go like, like, the African culture has, it is selfish for white people to eat meat. Here's why. Because historically, the slave class was not allowed to eat the same things as the plantation owners. Therefore, in America, if white people eat meat, and they start going on this big long tirade that pisses off white people and makes certain, it reinforce. I think a lot of black people are pretty insulted by that, quite frankly. I think most are and can see through it. But it will appeal to a certain group of people that just want a certain narrative to be reinforced. And so she's encouraging that sort of thing to be like going like, yeah, you're not supposed to eat meat. You're racist. And it's like, dude, if people even start beginning to think that, then then this country's like, you cannot let this take hold. But I'm telling you that particular thing, that's Rebecca. That's Oddfellow. That method of, like they hold up the sign saying like, if you'll suck a black man's, you better be prepared to go to prison for him or speak out for him or something like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? I've seen those signs like that. And it was always held by a white woman who's extremely curvy, but is braless and also shaved her head. Guys, you need to understand what these things are all designed to do. Deconstruct it thing by thing relative to gender, race relations, and ask yourself what each one of these very promoted and placed out there for you to see events is designed to do. It creates the split. It creates the argument. It's an immediate for everybody who witnesses it. It puts them all into a state of frustration. And the woman that's doing that knows what she's doing. I've noticed a trend about them. They all have, this is not being insulting. It's a sign of plasma absorption. They're puffy. They're puffier than average. Some of them are doing plasma transfer almost like as a form of plastic surgery. If the more plasma you take from somebody else, you can literally apply it to like your butt, your breasts, your cheekbones, your lips. Why do you think the Kardashians look so freaking ridiculous? It's not all plastic. It's not all processes that are whatever. I don't care if you think that they look amazing. I think they all look 100% ridiculous. Sorry to them. I'm not trying to be insulting or whatever, but to me, that's not attractive. That's pretty fake and plastic. What's this shit? I don't know what that is. Like I can't even mimic it. You did that to yourself? But yeah, but you'll see it, and it makes their cheeks a little puffier in a really kind of artificial way. They'll get it makes the way the flesh lays out. It's a little bit too I don't know. It's somewhere between like the fakeness of plastic surgery and the reality of a human body. It just doesn't feel right. If you've ever seen somebody, I think I've actually knew somebody that did this to other people to where I knew what their body felt like. And the best way I can describe it is that when it's the women, it's weird, guys. It's almost like they have a layer on their body that has a different kind of thickness to it. It's almost like there's a battery that's in there. That's like another set of like a partially separated layer that's wrapped around it, and it just adds a little bit of girth. It's weird. And it makes everything puffier that way. The guy that was extracting plasma from me for like a year, his calves just turned into stump-like logs and got bigger and bigger. And his fingers turned like into mozzarella stick shapes. They stopped losing like the shape into here, and they just turn like almost completely round and puffy. It's not like, anyways, guys, these things are really happening. All right. And it was happening to me in Estacada aggressively is the only thing I can tell you. And I have the footage to show it. I have the footage to show you that I measured the signals coming from the floors. The floors in the house were called Pergo floor tiles. Pergo floor tiles. Sounds a lot like purgatory, doesn't it? So you have to understand how this family, the mafia, plays with language corruption. If they put me in a room and say, "Hey, Gabe, those are Pergo floor tiles. You're resting on Pergo." Right, mommy dearest? Pergo, huh? Let's take a look at Pergo. Is, according to the belief of some Christians, an intermediate state after physical death for expiatory purification. There is a disagreement upon Christians whether or not such a state exists. Some forms of Western Christianity, particularly within Protestantism, deny its existence. Other strands of Western Christianity see purgatory as a place, perhaps filled with fire. Some concepts of Gehenna in Judaism are similar to that of purgatory. The word is also used in a non-specific sense to mean any place or condition of suffering or torment, especially one that is temporary. Well, gosh, guys, that sounds a lot like what I experienced in the purgatory on the Pergo floor tiles of Mommy Dearest's spare room in Estacada, Oregon. All while not receiving any assistance from the FBI. Here's all I got to tell you, FBI. You got a lot of balls if you're going to come after me for anything when you've been this neglectful about everything. Remember that. I did everything the way that I did for a reason. I was never going to let you get away with saying I don't exist or that these things don't happen. And you're doing it not just to me, you're doing it to everybody, this entire country. You're guilty, FBI. So those of you who know what the right thing to do is, I hope you jump ship and you'll partner with the military when the time comes. Because that's your duty, to turn in the people at the FBI that are this corrupt and start partnering with correcting what's going on with our infrastructure. It was a soft, quiet coup takeover by Operation Paperclip Nazis. They got into key positions at the Department of Justice, the Department of Energy, the National Security Directorate, the National Security Administration. They abused the Smith-Mundt Authorization Act of 2012, the National Defense Authorization Act. These are all their exploits into getting propaganda on American soil, while they shock, torment, and destroy us financially, those of us who know who the real mafia is. While you have the balls to try to delete me, try to pretend that I am not who I say I am, are you shitting me? I have got too many people that love me to let you do that to me. They only stayed by the sidelines to let you attack. I know this family could give two shits about me, but I've got another family and they love me dearly and I love them back. Don't take this isolation as weakness. Let me tell you that. You got Stargate Plumbing across the street from you for a reason, and I know you do. Because of water frequency. All your hacks involve water frequency, plumbing hacks. Interesting that a company that kind of hints at what they're doing is right across from the FBI. You think? So here I have all this, I have measured evidence. I have all the signals showing that I was being shocked and tased. This Hollywood mafia that literally puts taser in their names. I mean, guys, they even tell you what they do inside their creative work. You guys know Hogan's Heroes? A show about Nazis, about American POWs in a Nazi concentration camp. You see, what happened, guys, is Nazis were brought to America and placed in our concentration camps. Then they went on to create series like Hogan's Heroes. Hey there, Albert S. Ruddy. San Bernardino. Bernard Fine. San Bernardino. Bernard San Bernardino. All right, let's take a closer look at the cipher here. Anytime you're dealing with Oddfellows and Rebeccas, that's your cipher. You're going to bridge letters from the middle to the end, right? From the middle, especially when they have an initial in the middle, like they don't need to. Like, guys, Albert S. Ruddy doesn't need to go by Albert S. Ruddy. There's not 10 other Albert Ruddys out there going like, hey, I'm also a Hollywood producer. If you're out there as Albert Ruddy, people are going to mistake you for me. Oh, I've got a solution. I'll go by Albert S. Ruddy, and you just go by Albert Ruddy. Deal? No, guys, we all know there's nobody out there that was born with this name. Let's break it down to what they're really communicating. That's what was happening to me in a house in Estacada. I was getting tased. Right there, dude. Right, dude. Right, dude. Somebody out in Estacada hates it when I call him dude or by his name. He wants to be called by his official title. I'm not going to say who. I'll just leave that up for your interpretation. Well, let's talk more about the FBI. Does anybody think that InfraGard is really doing what they say they are? All right, let me give you all the connections here, guys. InfraGard began in Cleveland, Ohio. That's important because it's an Ohio creation. Now let's talk about what I talked about earlier. Let's look up Battelle. Battelle Memorial Institute, more widely known as simply Battelle, is a private nonprofit applied science and technology development company headquartered in Columbus, Ohio. The Ohio connection. InfraGard Cleveland, Battelle Columbus. Right, big bruh? All right. Battelle is a charitable trust organization as a nonprofit under the laws of the state of Ohio and is exempt from taxation under Section 501c. Hey, are you exempt from taxation? Anyways. They are. And they can run around, you know, and doing whatever they want to pretty much. But see, they do agribusiness, ecology, environment, health, genomics. Yep. You know, like the Human Genome Project. Medical device development, neurotechnology, and public health studies. You know, sometimes labs don't like to ask for permission from human genomes, and they may have an insider at the Department of Energy that says, hey, I've got a brother that you can use as a test experiment, and we don't give two shits about him, and he has no rights as long as we can disinform on him. Would you like to have a go at him? Anyways, national security, aviation and aerospace technologies, chemical and biological defense systems, cyber innovations, ground tactical systems, and maritime technologies. Also, they research infrastructure like the Biosafety Laboratory 3 operations, chemical demilitarization facilities, and ecological observatory networks. They have offices in Aberdeen, Maryland, Seattle. Okay. But look at all the labs they operate. In addition to operating its own research facilities, as of 2019, Battelle manages or co-manages on behalf of the United States Department of Energy the following labs. Guys, I want you to think about this. Literally, you go up to the signs out there at the Department of Energy, and it's a little bit like Idiocracy, brought to you by Carl's Jr., brought to you by Carl's Jr. Why do you keep saying that? Because they pay me every time I do. It's like that. Guys, I'm not getting paid by Carl's Jr., I promise you. But I do need money, so if you'd like to use me for endorsements, I'll be willing to take conversations. But that would be wouldn't that just be amazing, guys, for it to be that exact thing? Carl Jr. of all things, Idiocracy. Anyways, they manage the Department of Energy's following laboratories. Brookhaven National Laboratory, we'll talk about that one in a second. Let me bookmark that one. Wow, look at that. Idaho National Laboratory. That way a certain person out there can hand off the family business of influence to the next generation right there, right there. Isn't that why so many people are leaving Eastern Washington where all those winery operations are and suddenly going to Idaho? Because the shit hit the fan. They're like, oh, we got to leave this all behind, man, before people know what's going on. Let's go to Idaho. Anyways, Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, a collaboration between Battelle BWX Technology, where, full disclosure, my brother also worked. Washington Group International, the University of California, Bechtel National, and the Texas A&M University. They run the Los Alamos National Laboratory. That's also been connected to things like New Mexico and what other people say is the Dulce Lab. Yes, that one of that legendary whatever. The National Renewable Energy Laboratory, and most importantly to this discussion, Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Tennessee, as well as the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. This is where my family basically gets all of their influence, is this one right here. That's the Hanford Nuclear Reservation. And additionally, on behalf of the National Department of Homeland Security, they run the National Biodefense Analysis and Countermeasures Center. Boy, does this group, this nonprofit, ever have a hell of a lot of influence and power. Not unlike, SAIC. Let's take a look at Brookhaven National Laboratory. It's a U.S. Department of Energy lab in Upton, New York. And wow, I wonder if that's why old mommy dearest constantly talks about her friends, the Uptons. Probably because she's referencing Brookhaven, to be my guess, because she's pretty clever that way. I'm talking to the Uptons. I'm talking to June, when she's really talking to the leader of a company whose name is June, but she'll tell you it's her cousin. Or she'll say she's talking to an old friend named Upton when it's really she's talking to the Brookhaven lab. Yeah. Just telling you how people look normal and suburban when they're actually doing deep state things. They're really good at it, you guys, and they've been close to me a long time. Although originally conceived as a nuclear research facility, Brookhaven's lab mission has greatly expanded into nuclear and high-energy physics, CERN, physics and chemistry of materials, environmental climate research, nanomaterials, energy research, nanomaterials. That's especially concerning. But you know what they have out there, guys? Accelerators. Yeah. Yep. They have reactors and accelerators, including a high flux beam reactor, flux capacitors. Woo. But no, they have a first particle accelerator. In 1970, they started Isabel. Hey, you know, there's a character on the series Weeds named Isabel Hodes. she's connected to a lot of things. You may want to look into that. I know that sounds pretty crazy, but no, both her and Shane Botwin are figureheads in some of these things. Botwin is a cipher for Bothell. Botwin, bot hell, win hell. Yeah, because they're trying to turn everything into hell, win hell. In 1981, with the tunnel for the accelerator already excavated, problems with the superconducting magnets needed for the Isabel accelerator brought the project to a halt. So again, guys, an accelerator is them boring a hole deep into the earth and spinning magnets around in circles, which could do what? Throw the Earth's magnet rotation off? I don't know. Sounds like a great idea to me. What could go wrong? And then this is Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. Says it's one of the it's the main campus is in Richland, Washington. Okay, that's where I had family and a whole bunch of friends working at, was that exact area. And when I lived out in Hanford, if it wasn't family working out at the lab, it was friends. I mean, everybody had some connection to, quote, the lab. And this is it. This is where a whole bunch of the real life James Bond things are going on, folks, is out here in Hanford. Let's go to Brookhaven really quick. And they do have a particle accelerator at Hanford, but it's a linear one that goes in a straight line. And that's their CERN. So again, you know, everybody talks about Switzerland, but did you guys know that we have the same thing here? And we've had it for like a few decades. See, nobody talked about CERN until like 2010. They didn't even talk about particle accelerators. You didn't even hear anybody talking about it. It was always CERN, CERN, CERN. They got a Hadron Collider at CERN. And then here it is. There's Brookhaven. That's ours. I'm not sure where it is on this large campus. It might be over here. This tends to be how they do it. This things like this. The accelerator will have like a ring like this, and then like some maintenance road going into it. So chances are the other one is like a main building, and this is just one of the facilities. I don't know, guys. I couldn't tell you. I'm just guessing. But it's out here somewhere. And they also have a nuclear reactor as part of this too. So I'm not sure which one's which. And you can see how they're doing like solar power experiments out here. Oh, you don't care about Buck Owens. Hang on. All right, so just getting back to everything about how this all connects together. Sorry, I'm not trying to bounce around excessively, guys. It's just I need you to kind of understand like how this is all tying back together. That they're hoodwinking America as much as they are anyone else in the world, you know. And it's just an important thing for us to grasp on a greater, you know, level here is all. All right. So I just want to give you guys a quick summary of some of the other things that have gone on to kind of show you how total information awareness was something that was a privately run company's idea to begin with, and then it was rejected. And all I'm telling you guys is that this company never like lets an idea get rejected. They'll just keep doing it. They'll keep doing it because they have enough insiders that want them to do it and will cover for them. They hire people based on stock options. They give them to them even when they leave the company. People are inclined to bring business back to SAIC and Leidos because they have so much stock in them. Their compensation is directly tied to them. And that's all I'm trying to explain to folks, is that when you have a situation like this where there's this much control going into a central area like that, it's a bad thing. And then you hive total information awareness, you know, this program here. Once you have this program, which if you don't know what this is, please read about it, because it did happen. Just because Congress rejected it didn't mean it didn't happen. Take this program here and hive it into Matrix, TIPS program, InfraGard, and then give a certain class of people access to it, but not the rest of the population. And then once you understand that it's mostly like a thing that corporations that have these like people that a lot of times are loyal to more socialist and Marxist ideas that are consistent with the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. It's in their values, guys, because it doesn't seem like it would be to some of these tech leaders. But guys, the founder of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, they've said that he's sympathetic to these types of interests. Mark Zuckerberg appears to be sympathetic to these interests. So if these companies are in control of our perception portals, if you can literally say that you're going to delete a former president's voice from your platform entirely, guys, literally to where it auto detects his voice and just mutes it, makes it to where he doesn't get heard, or deletes his existence, you're delving into some very serious territory of information control that has nothing to do with the founding of America, that has absolutely nothing to do with keeping us safe, that has nothing to do with keeping us secure. That is simply aggressive censorship. That is aggressive censorship with a larger agenda in mind. And you have to ask yourself, why him of all people? Did you ban the voice of Hitler? Because here's the thing, guys, as much as I can't stand Hitler, he's still significant historically. You don't just delete a person from history and act like they don't exist. But this system is designed to do things like that. This system really, when you get down to it, is designed to harvest everything, bring it all into this. So then you have this multi-terrorism information exchange thing called Matrix. Analyze government and commercial databases to find association between suspects or to discover locations of a completely new suspects. This database and technologies used in the system were housed by Seasant, a Florida-based company since acquired by LexisNexis. It was shut down in 2005 after federal funding. Guys, but here's the thing. What I'm trying to help people understand is, just because, like, they'll always try it and see if people will say anything. And if they don't, they're like, great, we can just do it. And if people say something, they go, crap, now we've got to hide it under some other thing. It doesn't go away. So what we have today is take a phone application that's sort of like Pokemon Go and hive it into total information awareness, add in all of the resources of the TIPS program, Matrix program, and then take all of those call-in type database sharing information things and then bring it into the corrupt FBI's InfraGard program, where they're basically going around and deputizing the security teams of major corporations who oftentimes are advocating for or working directly for pedophiles. Guys, you understand the problem? If pedophiles own and operate many of these companies, then all of their activities are completely hidden from the government, because the government relies on these companies for tech support. U.S. government has to go to these information companies. They have to contract through them under private, contracts or whatever. If Apple's doing this to us, then we have to go to Apple for the encryption, don't we? If Google's doing it to us, then yeah, we've got to go to Google for the encryption or whatever. And again, guys, I'm not making cases for saying that we should have their encryption and all that other crap. Again, I'm not saying that. It's just suggesting to you that if you learned that a whole bunch of these tech companies got together and said, you know something, we don't believe in America. And I think that we have a greater belief in the communist and Marxist systems that are more consistent with the Chinese Communist Party. And we are going to just hand over this country to them using a very clever method of information flow and control. We're going to shut certain people down on Twitter, Facebook, and all these other platforms slowly over time and incrementally get everybody used to this being a normal thing. And then it's a quiet coup. Nobody will even figure it out. You don't think that they thought to do this. Here's the problem. Well, here's not the problem, guys. Here's the good thing. Timeline technology. If you can just accept that it exists, which it does, if it didn't, we would not have the solution in place. We would be screwed right now. But good people have the timeline technology. But what we have to remember is it's a chess game of perceived time. Everything we're existing in today can be shuffled a lot like chess pieces. Our perceivable reality has become very Mandela effect for this exact reason. If you're wondering why that's a thing and why it's so commonplace now, it's because of this. It's a little bit like what I was talking about before, how you can have like a main side that everything operates on, like a computer with like, you know, two brains, where the main brain is doing all the processing constantly, but then you want to give it a break and make sure that it always works, you know? So they have a thing called switch active side. So you move over to the other brain, and that's the backup brain. And then it goes, you know, like, well, yeah, I mean, I can do these functions or whatever and everything like that. And, you know, it'll perform all the regular functions of the main machine for a while. And then that gives the main processor a break. It gives it, you know, a relaxation point. And that way, you know, that if, you know, if there's any like things that might be on the cusp of breaking within the main brain, creating this switch between one brain to the other brain sometimes will reveal that problem in a way that's safe and doesn't shut down your communication grid. And so it's just, I'm giving you that as a way to discuss like what's going on with the internet in a way. We have different internets in America, and one has been formed right in front of us through all these private companies like SAIC and their formation of, I'm going to play the article on that, actually. That's what I'm going to do next, because that'll summarize all of this nicely to where I can show you everything that I haven't shown you up until now. This is the more recent information, but what I'm going to do is show you a few articles here really quickly that'll summarize the rest about the internet involving SAIC and the phone number thing. Just a couple articles, okay? I'm going to go longer than I anticipated tonight, folks, so you can probably bet this one will be over 3 hours. It's either going to be 3 hours or maybe 3.5. I don't know, but I'm going to try to get this done pretty quickly here because I wasn't planning on doing a really long night tonight. But this is important material for you to see. Hang on. I got to get this here. Some of you might be familiar with this already. These are just my articles on it's a main playlist I have that's really at the cusp of all my research. It's called Justin Gabriel Cruz, Information for Concerned Parties. Here it is. All right. All right, so I have one article called The Wizard Behind Our Stockholm Syndrome of Surveillance and SAIC, A Brief History of Internet Dominance. I'm not going to play this one because that's more about phone routes. So I'm going to do SAIC in the one after it, and I'll be right back. Connection to SAIC and internet. Hang on.
Something happened to it for some reason. The Network Solutions used to run a lot of the domain names back in the 90s. You can kind of see their history here. I just want to show you really quick the connection between them and SAIC. They were purchased by them in 1995. Okay, that just gives you a little bit of the history here. I won't go into all this. This article here says SAIC won't let go of Network Solutions. Science Applications International Corporation may have sent Network Solutions Inc. to the public market, but it didn't shorten the company's leash. Network Solutions, the Herndon, Virginia, registrar of internet domain names and purchased by SAIC 2 years ago, made an eye-catching debut on the NASDAQ national market September 26th. More than 4 million shares changed hands that day, giving the company a one-day gain of 30% and a market value of $350 million. San Diego-based SAIC let the public buy 22% of Network Solutions through the initial public offering. SAIC spun off Network Solutions, but it does not want to let go of the work in progress yet. Success of network solutions is extremely important to SAIC because a systems integrator is using this offering as a test for future deals, said a source at Network Solutions. If this goes well, it could pave the way for other spin-offs from SAIC. Mike Daniels, Sector Vice President for SAIC and Network Solutions Chairman, said that SAIC has made an effort to move into the commercial markets over the past 5 years. So you can see they were really looking for dominance in the domain assignment, internet protocol, address assignment, that types of things. And then down here it says, having a monopoly on that market has given Network Solutions healthy growth over the past 2 years. With 1 million domain names registered, the company's revenue almost tripled to 18.9 million last year over 1995. But the future of that business is in question. The National Science Foundation said that it will not renew Network Solutions' exclusive contract when it expires in 6 months. Instead, domain name registration will become a competitive business, and new entrants in the market will undoubtedly undercut the company's registration fee, currently set at $100 for 2 years. So you can see there was a lot of, this is where it all kind of began. Kind of interesting coincidence. Their name is Gabe Batista. Not sure what that's about, but says with the direction of Network Solutions business up in the air, decisions made by SAIC are much more crucial. Sorry, my voice is really getting shot for some strange reason. Next article. The untold story of SAIC, Network Solutions, and the rise of the web. Even when the internet boom was happening, even during the incandescent gold rush years of the late 90s, Network Solutions was not exactly a household corporate name, not compared to the first wave of companies like America Online. So, you can see here a little bit of the history. Point is, I'm going to leave all these links here so you can kind of see SAIC's had a lot of history in managing internet domains, and they have the ability and all the internal knowledge to do reroutes if they so desire. Just putting that out there as a possibility that they have that capability. And then just wanted to point this out as an article from Vanity Fair that was from like 2007, where they talk about SAIC in relation to the founder, Bob Baester. And there's an interesting little excerpt down here that talks about the Young Boy Network. I'm going to leave this article for you, but you can kind of see that he used to travel with young guys and shared rooms with them. And they called them Baester's baby boys. And that it was part of traveling with Baester as the founder of SAIC. And this person is no longer with us, but this company has basically dominated the internet. And they split off and formed Leidos. Leidos has a lot of partnerships with Lockheed Martin. So if you notice, see, there's Bob Baester. That's who we found in this article earlier. I was telling you about Bob Baester's baby boys. Then, check out that logo. You can see they have a lot of connections right here. Booz Allen, Hamilton, Boeing. Connections, a thin thread. But you never hear about their name. No one ever talks about SAIC. Excuse me, folks. This is very strange what's happening to my voice right now. So there you go, guys. It's interesting. This company. I'll have more on this tomorrow. Thanks. Hey everyone. Just wanted to give you a quick update on some research I'm doing regarding the telecom industry and things that kind of tie into the whole narrative involving incidental surveillance, things that potentially tie into this overall narrative and tied into InfraGard potentially. You have to understand, I have a very strong background in the wireless industry. I've been in the wireless industry, or I was rather, from 1994 until just last year, which was 2016. When I basically retired just because I could tell something was wrong and I wanted to research things like this in addition to other things that were going on in my life. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Basically, my research has been a very long path, and I've started to kind of piece a few things together. Again, I just want to point these things out because I think they're very relevant in evaluating what's going on right now. This is the website opensecrets.org. In the process of trying to do some research on Ericsson's lobbying agencies, I came upon this basically for 2016 that they'd hired these groups. And then I noticed that they had this subsidiary that they lobbied for called Telecommunications Technologies. Now, I've been in the industry a long time, but I don't really remember ever coming across things involving Telcordia. So I wanted to find out who they were. So I looked them up on here. So I'll just read this really quick. It says Telecommunications Technologies, Inc., doing business as iConnective, is an American subsidiary of the Swedish telecommunications company Ericsson. The company provides interconnection technology and clearinghouse solutions for numbering plan, routing, call billing, and technical standards coordination between competing telecommunication carriers. So just so you understand what that translates to is that they're basically the go-to in between for everybody to coordinate all of their numbers. There's always like an I that everything leads to, basically. Well, when it comes to, basically how everything ties together in the United States, how you get your routing, everybody coordinates your number pools. All those things happens through apparently this subsidiary that's now owned by Ericsson. They do have an interesting history, though, that does tie into other aspects of the research. Now, I'm not going to get into their whole history. If you'd like to, you can read it. But the part that I find particularly interesting here is says a separation from the baby bells. In 1996, the company was provisionally acquired by Science Applications International Corporation. The sale was closed 1 year later following a regulatory approval process that covered all states individually. Since the divested company no longer had any ownership connection with the Bell regional companies, the name was officially changed to Telecommunications Technologies. In 1999, the headquarters eventually moved to, I'm not sure how to say that. Stake in the company was subsequently sold in November 2004 to Providence Equity Partners and Warburg Pincus, who held equal stakes in the company. On June 14, 2011, Ericsson announced an agreement to acquire Telcordia for $1.15 billion. On January 12, 2012, Telcordia became a wholly owned subsidiary of Ericsson. Telcordia has been a major architect of the United States telecommunications system and has pioneered many services, including caller ID, call waiting, mobile number portability, and toll-free number 800s. Its expertise is managing large, complex projects across the operations and communication spectrum. Telcordia, I apologize. I have that problem. I do that with the word longitudinal. I always say longitudinal instead of longitudinal. You've probably noticed that if you've seen my other clips. Anyways, it says Telcordia offers products and services in the area of network planning and engineering, service assurance, delivery, fulfillment, and data management and operations support. Telcordia's software products are designed to solve communication problems, support complex, and this all feels like a little corporate rah-rah speech, doesn't it? Well, think about what this really translates to. So this Ericsson, everything kind of has to route through them. So when we talk about incidental surveillance, you really do have to look beyond just agencies. You have to look beyond NSA, FBI, CIA. You have to understand partnerships exist between all of our agencies and these companies. So Telcordia Technologies, that's basically Ericsson. Ericsson, just so you understand in context, they are the biggest, or one of the two biggest, rather, I'm not connected right now, but they're one of the biggest telecom infrastructure manufacturers. So basically every single call you make on your cell phone is almost always going to route through some form of Ericsson equipment, whether it be on your phone or the other person's phone, because they have so much market share in the industry that their equipment is in almost every single tower. If they're not in a tower, they have small cells inside tall office buildings. Their technology is installed. They have these things called small cells that have very focused antennas that can be concealed in ceiling tiles and things of that nature. These not for nefarious purposes, of course, but they're designed to, they could be used for that. But I guess they're designed, though, to provide coverage like in office buildings, but if you want them to be out of the way so that they're not in, people don't see them and things like that. So they have these applications that are called concealed configurement distributed antenna and systems that go inside office buildings or high rises, things of that nature. Most towers, buildings nowadays, especially in areas like New York, LA, the skyscrapers and things like that will usually have some form of these small cells that use a distributed antenna system that is usually some sort of type of fiber optic distributed. They call them DAS systems. Okay. So all I'm telling you is that Ericsson owns all these technologies. They basically have those core technologies in towers. They also have this company that does the routing. But what makes this more interesting is that SAIC actually, if you do research on them, and I'll get further into this in my next report, but SAIC owned a company back in 1995, and if I'm not mistaken, please don't quote me on this quite yet, but I believe it was called Internet Solutions, and they handled the IP and domain address handling, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a lot of concentrated power over telecommunications and our internet experience that has basically been in the control of two companies for quite some time, basically dating back to the mid-90s between Science Applications International Corporation, who's now, they've split off into Leidos. So sometimes the work they do is under Leidos, which is Leidos, and other times they do work as Science Applications International Corporation. It depends on what division you're working with as far as they go. I do know people who have been affiliated here that are with DOE now, just so you know. Anyways, that's what I can tell you about iConnective. Quite frankly, I'm pretty surprised about this myself. I did not know that they had all this. And if anybody else out there can verify this and see if I'm thinking along the same lines as you, great. Let's talk. Bye.
All right. So those are articles that are on the older side because I did them a few years ago, but the information still holds up, I think. I should probably go back and see, how things have changed and maybe do some updates on those, quite frankly. I have hundreds of articles, folks. So it's not always the first thing when I'm in my mind to always start like updating all of them at once. I wish I had that kind of thing going on, but the way I go about doing these articles is usually pretty, it takes a long time, like Energetics 11, that research was all accumulated over a long time. It took me years to understand it. It took me, a while to gather up all the slides and information and everything like that and read all the reports. But, to actually create a documentary for me is a very fast process once it's in my head, but I have to understand it. If I don't understand it, I'll be just sitting there going trying to piece it together, and I'll struggle with editing it. I won't know what to say. But when I understand it, I barely even need notes. In fact, if I have notes, it slows me down because I'm looking at them. It's really weird. That's why, folks, sometimes I tune out the chat. I don't mean to. I apologize. It's just that if I look at it even for a second, it breaks my concentration, and not because of anybody in the room usually. In fact, oftentimes I find that I missed something that I really needed to listen to or read because I was just trying to stay in the stream of consciousness. Then I look over and I go oh crap, they were trying to tell me that my mic was covered, or that my screen froze, or something like that. That's really, that I need to know. So I don't mean to do that, folks. So welcome to the chat, though, everybody who joined in midway or whatever. Hey, Fred, and so I'm. Here's the thing. I wanted you guys to kind of get another perspective on all this information brought together in this way as a cohesive piece, because I often talk about Operation Paperclip and Nazis, but I was afraid that I wasn't doing it in a way that really pieced it together to show you how it leads into things into modern times because of the influence that never seemed to have gone away. And it's something that we really have to be conscientious of, folks. What leftover Nazi influence is here? What are they working on behalf of? Where are they? What kind of lies have they sold America? What kind of lies have they convinced America to sell others? this is the thing, guys. Don't beat yourselves up, and I would say also be very conscientious about who you refer to as a Nazi, because the thing I've noticed right now, guys, is Nazis are very masterful at calling everybody one who's not one. and I'm going to tell you why they do that. They want you to not see what a real one truly is. The whole point of flooding the narrative with, oh, you Nazi, you just act like a bunch of Nazis, making comedies about Nazis, putting them in different variations where they look a little bit stupid and silly, instead of a force to be reckoned with. I mean, yes, guys, I want us to be mocking of them. I enjoy watching series like, what's that one? Danger 5 is a series where it's an Australian television series that only lasted for like 2 or 3 seasons, where the whole point of every episode is to kill Hitler, and it's just like, I need you to go on this mission and you need to go fly across. And it's always like a talking eagle. It's literally like a big talking bird that gives them all their orders. And he's like, and I need you to retrieve the suitcase from the evil spy who's in control of the mountain. And of course, kill Hitler. Every episode, it always begins that way. Like he gives them some elaborate mission they have to go on. But at the very end of it, he says, and of course, kill Hitler. I don't know, any Danger 5 fans out there? It's kind of a funny series. I don't know what its intention is or anything else like that. I'm not trying to add more, making it look silly is all I'm trying to say, because it is a serious thing. But yeah, I do enjoy like the humorous aspects of it, guys. But like, all I ever get concerned about is like, and I was saying this to a friend earlier, that I worry a little bit about like things like Quentin Tarantino. He's made quite a number of films lately that I personally was impressed by, where I'm going like, wow, that really, man, that blew me away. That was a great film. I would say in particular, Inglourious Bastards, I thought was exceptionally well done. And I thought that Django Unchained was another one that was really well done. But see, when I started to unpackage like the things about Inglourious Bastards recently, as I learned more about real Nazism in America relative to what happened with Paperclip. And then at first, because you love the director's work so much, your natural inclination is to say that they must be doing it for good reasons. And I don't know, guys, I'm not going to say one way or the other with Tarantino. But I know hyper stylized violence for some people, it does kind of leave an imprint. And, I worry sometimes, or I get a little bit concerned sometimes, because I know for me, I'm not a violent person, guys. I don't have, for me, I guess you could say I'm like, have maybe like informationally, I have a vengeful mind, perhaps. I don't know, maybe. Mostly just because I've learned that other people conceal information, and it's very harmful, and they do it for reasons that are harmful. They do it for reasons that are neglectful. They do it for reasons that they know are intentionally creating problems in our country. These aren't people that are concealing information for safety and secrets overall, is what I've learned. And they hide behind all of those things that say that they deserve that secrecy and that you must respect it. And whatever they are, you must respect and you must honor it. And I want people to understand the real Nazism for what it actually is in America. These people have learned to hide right in front of you and be in charge of your social justice issues, be in charge of your networks, gateways for your FBI, gateways for your, what do you want to call it? Places where you would file for these reports. For example, the FBI says submit your data to the IC3 database. IC3? ICE? What? To put it on ice? To chill it? To freeze it? ICE? You want me to submit it to ICE? IC3. Okay. This sounds to me like you want to put it on ice. You want to freeze it, stall it, lag it. Like all my other information, stalled, frozen, and lagged. Stalled and lagged, stall logged. like a modern Stasi, like a modern Nazi. Stalled and lagged. Stalled and lagged is Stalag. See, instead of it being a camp, now it's become metaphysical in nature. Our Stalag. It is. That's why I'm telling you guys, the Nazis understand the metaphysical layer of the biofield. You should too. This is hidden knowledge. Everything on my channel, the reason why I go through this crap that I don't like to go through, I really don't like talking about this overall. I wish I could just spend way more time focusing on the cool biofield things. But you know who's sitting on that information? Everybody I'm just discussing here. This is really like at the crux of it. These are the groups that are on that information. I'm not even exaggerating, guys. If I were to look into, let me show you something about, I'll show you something about SAIC here. They became Leidos, right? They spun off to Leidos. Are they really hiding the history of this company? I think they are. As SAIC, let's see here. McLean, okay. Yeah, they're only showing one of their controversies there. Management, okay. Roger Crone, Gerrek Crow. The Wreck Crow. Interesting name. Wreck Crow. Subsidiaries. Here's an interesting one. Dynetics, so the space program, everything to do with the space program. Leidos Biomedical Research. Reveal develops dual energy X-ray computed tomography systems. Now, I'd say they create X-ray tombs. That's my opinion. Cloud Shield Technologies, a wholly owned subsidiary specializing in cybersecurity. Liquid Petroleum Asset Management Company, VEREC. Leidos Health, Leidos Canada, okay, blah, blah, blah. Systems Made Simple, SMS, acquired by merging with Lockheed Martin, IS, and GS. That's the key thing that you need to remember, guys. The whole reason why this happened was because they basically wanted to take on even more government business than they were allowed. So you just spin off to another company, absorb a whole other company, and then the new company can take on even more government business that the old company couldn't, even though it's the same thing. And everybody just said, okay. I don't get it, guys. And these at SAIC, they had all these controversies, you know. It's weird how SAIC knows that all this is attributed to them. So on Wikipedia, if you go to SAIC's article, this won't be there. You've got to go to Leidos to find out what SAIC did as SAIC, where it's buried at the bottom of Leidos's wiki. And it's an incomplete record. So they did things with the FBI. Pun Arrow. What a name, man. Guys, do you find these names in nature? I mean, sorry, man, if he's a Marine, man. Respect. But, man, I almost never find these names in nature. Maybe he's a good guy. He's looking for the pun Arrow. That would be a Mason thing to do. So I'm not sold on that being one way or the other. Yeah, but that kind of actually humors me. This is really weird, guys. They're not showing that they manage Stargate. So where is that record? Look at this. It's completely disappeared. They act like it's nowhere inside their record, guys. Stargate Project. Watch this. I'm going to show you something that'll really make your jaw drop. Stargate Project, code name for a secret U.S. Army unit established at 1978 at Fort Meade, Maryland. Now remember, guys, my data is going to link you to Lake Mead, Nevada. Fort Meade, Maryland, Lake Mead, Nevada. It delved into parapsychology, paranormal phenomena. It was by the Defense Intelligence Agency and SRI, which is Stanford Research Institute. and a California contractor to investigate the potential for psychic phenomenon in military and domestic intelligence operations. Here's what's weird about that description, you guys. This completely buries SAIC in its description. They act like SAIC had no part in this if you read this first paragraph, which says to me SAIC was probably involved with writing it. Here's why, guys. They don't want you ever talking about them. What they've done masterfully is create a whole series of fake characters that are buffers that get you to talk about everybody but them. Even though all you have to do is scroll down into this very Wikipedia article, and eventually you'll find a thing that tells you Science Applications International Corporation managed like 90% of all of the project information relative to everything here. Yet the description doesn't even mention them in the first paragraph. But watch if I do a search, Control F, SAIC. Oh, whoa. They've deleted SAIC. Oh, no, there it is. I was like, you got to be shitting me. Okay, I'm sorry. It was my mistake when I looked at the search engine. Okay, 1990s. In 1991, most of the contracting for the program was transferred from SRI to Science Applications International Corporation, with Edwin May controlling 70% of the contractor funds and 85% of the data. Its security was altered from Special Access Program to Limited Dissemination and was given its final name, Stargate. Now look at this, guys. Doesn't that kind of differ from this description where it says in the very beginning here, Stargate Project was a code name for a secret U.S. Army unit established in 1978 by the Defense Intelligence Agency and SRI to investigate the potential for psychic phenomenon in military and domestic intelligence operations. But they're just like totally skipping over SAIC. I mean, they're a hugely relevant piece of this because all they did was take the people from SRI. So why didn't it say Defense Intelligence and SRI who transferred it to SAIC or something to that? Because they're so relevant to the closing of the project in addition to having the entire staff that began it. How the hell do you just completely leave them out of the whole initial description? The project and its precursors and sister projects originally went by various code names: Gondola Wish, Grill Flame Centerlane, Project CF, Sunstreak, and Scanate, until 1991 when they were consolidated and rechristened as the Stargate Project. Stargate work mostly involved remote viewing, the purported ability to psychically see events or information from a great distance. The project was overseen until 1987 by Lieutenant Frederick Holmes, Skip Atwater, and psychic headhunter to Major General Albert Stubblebine, and later president of the Monroe Institute. The unit was small scale, comprising of about 15 to 20 individuals, and was run out of an old leaky wooden barracks. The Stargate Project was terminated and declassified in 1995 after a CIA report concluded that it was never useful in any intelligence operation. The documentation would suggest otherwise, folks. What really happened is this was when they learned that they could do some things with timeline manipulation, then quickly rushed to make it all look ridiculous, and they kept it to themselves and charged the government a lot of money. Now, all these people that have this research are sometimes integrated within certain government functions, but I wouldn't necessarily say the government's doing this. I'd say that there's a bunch of people that have this research now that are close to, well, SAIC. Now, honestly, guys, I think that Edwin May, the guy that appears in public, is just a buffer. He's not really the guy. They don't want the real guy being seen in public. They would never want you knowing who their true remote viewers are because they're accessible. Okay? It would be dumb. So that's all I'm telling you guys. Whatever this is on Wikipedia is lore. It's buffers. It's just as much of a Hollywood script as a movie like The Fury by Brian De Palma. You need to look at this. The same people that thought up the script for that, it's the same thing. Paragon Institute. We have some psychic research at the Paragon Institute. Their names are Russell Targ, Edwin May, Ingo Swann. I mean, these names sound Hal Puthoff? Guys, really? I mean, honestly? Puthoff, Targ, Ruse, Sell, light targ. Arg. You're not going anywhere. Arg. Arg or not. Anyways. And some of these are more the military people, so they'll have actual regular names. Like Morehouse. Dames, I would argue, is even a regular name, you know. I'm not going to pick on Joseph McMoneagle because I've actually seen that he's been like in different places and everything like that. So, but again, that could even be, I mean, that could have been a code name regardless, and he could still be a good guy. You know what I'm saying? But it would just be covered to keep the person protected. Doesn't always mean a person's whatever, right? I mean, I'm not trying to be whatever. It's just that why they're trying to like pretend that SAIC wasn't like a way more relevant thing here is beyond my, you know, whatever. But it says in a 1995 letter, Edwin C. May wrote he had not used Swan for 2 years because there were rumors of him briefing a high-level person at SAIC and the CIA on remote viewing and aliens and ETs. So now you kind of know, like those who are here from the get-go, like why this all goes full circle, why my situation sometimes within where I'm living isn't always safe, because, you know, then when you look into the history of other people connected to psychic research, like Robert Bigelow. So says here he was born May 12, 1945, and is an American businessman. He owns the hotel chain Budget Suites of America and is the founder of Bigelow Aerospace. He's used his wealth to provide financial support for investigations of parapsychological topics, including UFOs, and the continuation of consciousness after death. Well, let me explain something to you guys. If that's true, where are you, Bob? Because, you know, I was like right inside your property, having all of my information being swept up by your Wi-Fi network there, I imagine, right? Right, Bob? Maybe that's why I wound up at Robert Bigelow's property, because I am a person that does psychic research, and maybe some people would just prefer to be able to, I don't know, take it from you instead of like, you know, deal with you face to face. Maybe that's why the whole time I was staying at Robert Bigelow's property, I had weird things happening to my computer. And there was an X-ray machine going off. Would you guys like to hear it? I'm going to show you what happened at Robert Bigelow's property. True story.
I'm going to compare this to an X-ray sound. Okay, guys, that's an X-ray sound.
This is at Robert Bigelow's property.
And I'll give you a link to the X-ray machine. That's an X-ray. Do me a favor, do your own research, look up X-ray sound machine effects.
I did it for you, don't worry.
There's only one device, one machine anywhere in this apartment complex that goes, and that's the one. All these other ones make normal sounds, but that one's right above my head. So I think I'll go live on YouTube on the next one.
All right, now let's go back to Robert Bigelow's South Cove Apartments, where I was staying in a budget property, and where
X-ray sound.
If he's worth
That's
half
an
as much as
X-ray
he says
sound.
he is, he must have known. I've
Listen,
done research on
And I'll
him.
give you a link to the X-ray.
How the hell I wound up getting an X-ray machine sound above my head, staying in his property? I would love to know that, folks. And I'd also love to know why the FBI could give two
That's
shits.
an X-ray. Do me a favor. Do your own research. Look up X-ray sound machine effects. There's only one device, one machine anywhere in this apartment complex that goes, and that's the one. All these other ones make normal sounds.
So I rest my case on that one there, guys. Okay. Check this out. Here's Nevada FBI.
There's the FBI. There's the FBI, right? And then right there across the street is Stargate Plumbing. It is
Stargate Plumbing, literally directly across the street from the FBI. And look, they chose suites 1 and 3, 13 to be in. So special.
Isn't it weird? I actually used that as the my example. I said, guys, you know, I don't blame any one group for anything. I wouldn't call all plumbers evil or electricians evil. And there it is, Stargate Plumbing. Thank you, Robert Anton Wilson, for the inspiration. But yeah, guys, FBI, Stargate. Weird, right? Anyways, thought I'd tell you.
Yeah, so I have this, right? Hang on really quick, because I'm going to leave that up there, and then I'm going to show you what that equates to. And I'm not trying to be all drama-fied here. I'm just going to, you know, I don't really like doing this. But you guys kind of need to see that there's an actual effect to what that does and why my situation in Nevada requires some extra funding. And I'm not trying to, guys, just because I need folks to contribute, and I'm not, I really, I don't like going here, but I have to. So hang on really quick. It's because I need you guys to understand that this is actually happening to me. I have this unlisted because I don't like it to be maintained as a historical article on my material. I don't like this to be the message that I send to people about who I am and what's happening to me. But I need you to know, this is my reality. I don't like being one of these people that gets on the internet and shows people this shit. But this is happening to me. Okay? And it's because people can get me into properties like this.
This to an X-ray
because they're
sound.
rich.
Okay, guys, that's an X-ray sound.
They can control information systems and IT routes.
Link to the X-ray machine.
They have huge connections to companies in Nevada, deep state labs, medical companies that buy X-ray machines and sell X-ray machines.
Do me a favor. Do your own research. Look up X-ray sound machine effects. There's only one device, one machine anywhere in this apartment complex that goes, and that's the one.
So what kind of effects do you
All these
think
other
it
ones
has?
make normal sounds, but that one's right above my head. So I think I'll go live on YouTube on the next one.
That's what it's doing to my spine.
Does that sound normal to you? You ever seen something that needed to do that before it started up? How many times is that now, guys, that x-ray machine sound went off? Kind of strange, isn't it? That happens, well, it hasn't happened today at all, but some days that would go off over and over again. Then I was like, that sounds like when I go to the doctor and have an x-ray. So I got online and I looked it up, and guess what? It sounds exactly like an x-ray.
Let's see.
They did recordings of x-rays.
That's what happens when you're not supposed to have one.
And that's what they sound like. So what I would like my audience to do is do your own research. You go on the internet and you see if that sounds like an x-ray to you, okay? Thanks.
Hey guys, did I tell you that my brother has that on his tattooed on his leg? Gabriel Cruz does not have that fucking tattoo on his leg. Just thought you might want to know that. I don't have this tattoo on my leg, but somebody that I know does. And you know, if somebody that I know has that tattooed on their leg, and I tell them that I'm going through this, and they tell me, they literally were sending me emails and messages when I was reporting about this, threatening me instead of helping me. Family members threatening me instead of helping me.
That's an x-ray.
The same family member that worked at the company connected to Bob Bigelow and SAIC. Fuck you, bro. You're an asshole, dude. Sending me messages telling me to shut up.
There's only one device.
You got nerve, dude.
In this apartment complex that goes, and that's the one. All these other ones make normal sounds, but that one's right above my head. So I think I'll go live on YouTube on the next one.
Just being real with you guys, man. You know what? Not only does he have that tattoo, you know what else he's got? That one too. Gabe, you make a mountain out of a molehill about everything. You know, you're acting like, you know, that everything has meaning that doesn't. Meanwhile, right, I got an uncle that dies of aggressive bone cancer to his legs. I got another one that dies of Parkinson's. I got a grandmother that dies of throat cancer that never smoked a cigarette in her life. And a bunch of these people seem to be really benevolent and sweet-natured and nice, and sometimes sat on top of tunnels. Who wants those tunnels, I wonder? I don't know. I don't know. Who would want tunnels? I don't know. You tell me, guys. Who would want tunnels? I don't know. I'm not going to speculate excessively on it, but all I know is I got this. And the same time, you know, a lot of these things, well, this is still happening, but the same time that machine was going off, I'm away from that property now, guys. I'm just helping folks understand, like, why sometimes I can't operate on the budget that I used to. It's because I will wind up in one of Bigelow's properties, and I'm not going to get protection from my family, who has FBI, Department of Energy, and Department of Justice connections. They won't help me. They won't protect me. And if the FBI will not protect me or give me witness protection from said people, where am I supposed to go but the military? Jurisdictionally, the people that are supposed to be doing their jobs, that are supposed to care, that are supposed to do all the things they're supposed to do and just be good citizens in general, go, I didn't see that. That didn't happen. I don't even know Gabe anymore. In fact, I think maybe we can delete him and replace him with somebody else that doesn't talk so much. You ever stare at a man that was your father from the day you were born and have him do like this? Because you confront them with some information that you know is true about them, that's going to connect them to, I don't know, a predator. And that predator got protection in a government position that makes more than most of you probably get per year. Unless a lot of you make in the mid $100,000 a year range with full benefits in a government position. You see, because with the system that I've discovered that certain people close to me seem to have knowledge of based on the documents that I confronted them with, there's people out there that get caught with child pornography or being child molesters, and they have certain family members of a certain family they can go to that are deep state DOE, where they can get protected. Some go to a place called River Protection to get protected. Interesting that you find that people that are pedophiles wind up in River Protection getting protected, like they're a witness protection program. And my gut tells me that that's kind of something that they've done. That they get a person that is a child pornographer or a child abuser. When they get arrested, they become an informant, and then they become a network. And then they're placed inside the Department of Energy where they're allowed to run child pornography, which is why my information does not see the light of day, because I revealed this system. I call it the French connection. I'll let certain people out there figure out what that means. I'll let the Pied Piper of nuclear waste out there figure out what that means, buddy. You fucked with the wrong man, sir. Dude. He doesn't like being called dude. He kind of hates it, so I like to say dude. Let me tell you something about the dude. You want to tell you something about... It's about as good as my Sam Elliott impersonation can get right now, because I haven't had enough sarsaparilla. You know what else pisses me off about you people? I got more talent than all of you. I'm a better actor. I can do more voices. I can actually sing halfway decent if I had some fucking training. And you didn't find a single job for me in entertainment? You're a bunch of assholes. Would have been the easiest distraction in the world. Just have me making movies or something like that. I wouldn't have cared two shits about anything. I wouldn't even seen it. But no, man, you just try to set me up for failure from the beginning. So now you're going to find out what happens. This is your karma. This is your karma. You're going to have to live with this shit. This is all facts. This is all data. Everything that I've said here tonight is 100% informationally factual and true, and you cannot back out of it. Try. You're guilty. You're guilty. I want justice. I want to know how that shit is happening to me, and everybody in this state is going. And you know what I'm revealing? Child pornographers and human traffickers. This should be the easiest thing for you assholes to get behind and support. Oh no, no, I can't do that. Why? Shouldn't this be the end all be all where everybody just sets down their swords and says, I'm sorry, man, let's work on this together? But it's not. And why isn't it? Why are there still people out there arguing on behalf of predators and child molesters? By design. Who's designing it? Where do you think it leads back to? The same motherfuckers frying my spinal cord. On American soil with no judge, jury, or trial. And I can't even get the proper agency that's supposed to deal with this to even take the data in. The way I've rattled their cage, they should have been knocking on my door to interview me by now. And they're not. Worthless. Fucking worthless FBI, you're worthless. You are the most worthless motherfuckers that have ever existed in the history of law enforcement. You are a global joke. You are a global fucking joke. Everybody in the world knows what pieces of shit you are, FBI, especially in Nevada. You're worthless. You're there for yourselves. You're not enforcing shit. You're a Hollywood production studio that says FBI, like ABC, NBC, CBS, Disney, FBI, ABC Studios. Why do you think my own aunt was interviewed by ABC News? Props her up. Makes her somebody that she never would have been without ABC, does it not? You just reinforce your own selves and characters. Meanwhile, we're all suffering out here exponentially while you go, Antifa doesn't exist. It's an idea, not an organization. I've given you the entire map to the criminal organization. Maybe it's something. Maybe that's why Director Ray. Director Ray? What kind of rays are you directing, Ray? X-rays? Gamma rays? Kind of seems like it, buddy. Because you watched that shit happen. I was reporting from the Nevada FBI while I was living there. You're worthless. You are so worthless. What the fuck? How do you look? How do you drive around and look people in the eye and pretend that you're legitimate? This is so ripe for world court. Do you get that? You're that big of fuck-ups. Explain to me how you can justify ignoring this still. Everything I've said. Explain it. You don't want to get on an RT America interview with me, do you? When you're top brass? You don't want to spar with me, do you? You'll invite John McAfee on, but you're going to show everybody like what you do to people like him, right? Making an example. Anytime somebody tries to actually help and get some real information out that reveals what the fuck's going on in this country, you just take them the fuck down, don't you? Because you're not actually solving crimes. And what's worse about you, FBI, you neglect the most sacred goddamn trust, protecting children. You just leave it to a nonprofit run by Bradley Miles, who gets a Skull Award. Oh yeah, and Alex Karp has got the database managed. Hi, welcome to Palantir's investor meeting. Yeah, we're managing all the data for the United States government. You guys like my shoes? That's Palantir, managing America's information. I'm guessing that, I don't know, their favorite beverage is Coca-Cola. I'm not suggesting that they're into cocaine, dude. I just think they like the way it smells. That's all. Seems to be a common, barrier with a lot of these people. See, they get addicted to cocaine and then they're all in the same club. And you're not in it if you're not into cocaine. The problem is, guys, they marry that with human trafficking. And so people that are addicted to a drug, they turn their backs on trafficking because they don't want to see their addiction source go away. They always merge them. They're always merging them. They love this shit. So that's why I tell you guys, look deeper into, here's your homework. Please take this seriously. I want you to look into the movie Hell Comes to Frogtown. It's kind of entertaining, you know. If it, you know, look, it's a B movie, okay? So if you're into those things, you'll find it entertaining. If you're not, it'll be torture. But if you liked Hell Comes to, rather, They Live, this is the same actor, Roddy Piper. Look at the symbolism, guys. Roddy Piper. Okay. Now, Hanford equals Piper. Frogtown equals Fontana, Kaiser Steel, underground tunnels equals uranium and drug trafficking, human trafficking routes underground. All right. It's Hollywood hides it right out in the open. Now, here's what's super important to understand with buffers. But I'm telling you about buffers with the mafia. This movie was filmed at Kaiser Steel. Okay? You scroll down here. It's filmed out in the desert and at Kaiser Steel. Fontana, California. We can agree on this. So remember what I told you. Fontana equals Kaiser Steel underground tunnels, uranium and drug trafficking, human trafficking routes. Also telecommunication routes relevant to doing all of that. Private telecommunication routes that can process information. Now, I'm glad the military gives a shit. The FBI doesn't. Hey, don't slow down our money. All right, this is relevant because Sam Hill is the main character. Did you guys know that a man named Sam Hill created Mary Hill Stonehenge in Washington and Oregon that I reported from? His name is Sam Hill, Hill. But here's the important thing for you to research. Ask yourselves, why does R.J. Kaiser get listed as the director? Knowing that the movie was filmed at Kaiser Steel, do you truly believe that R.J. Kaiser exists? Or is it more likely that his name is kind of part of the ciphers and part of the codes to let people know there's something going on at Kaiser Steel and he's a figurehead? Because he's a character. And Monty Hellman is also a character because Hellman is a street that was in the same area as Fontana. It's in Fontana, Rancho Cucamonga area, next to Kaiser Steel, all those same areas. Hellman, he just died. Monty Hellman just died. R.J. Kaiser appears to be still alive. But what I'm telling you is if once you unpackage the fakery of R.J. Kaiser, you're going to learn everything you need to know about fake news and why it exists. You're going to learn all about buffer characters in the mafia, all from this simple, stupid movie called Hell Comes to Frogtown, and just doing some basic research into why was it filmed there? Why are there two directors of this low-budget movie, one with the same name as the facility that the movie was filmed in? Once you figure out all those little puzzle pieces I'm explaining to you guys, you're going to unlock a much larger puzzle. So it's entertaining. It's a way for you to do it that way. If you want to ask me questions or something in your quest for information, feel free to, or something like that. But that's what I'm going to put out there as like kind of a thing for people to look into, to say like, hey, you know, put on your detective hat, be a real life Nancy Drew or whatever, right? And then or Hardy Boys if you're into that. And do your investigations, you know, because this is going to give you insights once you unpackage it and you go, yeah, why is his name R.J. Kaiser? And it's filmed at Kaiser Steel. And I know that's not a real name. So how did that all happen? And does that guy have a birth certificate out there? And does he, like, can he go to a hospital? And did somebody collect insurance when he died? Now you're going to get into the deeper aspect of it, folks. So anyways, I got to head out. I appreciate you joining. Thank you very much. Please contribute now more than ever. I really need the assistance, guys. I don't want to go back to one of those budget places if I can help it, but I will. So anyways, have a good night.